Akọ́lóní ẹ má torí tèmi ké o, Àjàlóní ẹ má torí tèmi ká o.
Ìbò fíẹ́fíẹ́.
Alára ló lọ́gbọ́n, ajẹ́rọ ló nímọ̀ràn. Ewé oníyèmùyè àwọn ló ní ètò gúgéré. Ọjọ́ wa kèrègbè iye ẹ má má gbé mi níye tèmi. Àgbẹ̀tọ́ bá dáre ní kó dákú kó dá tèmi síre. Alùkòjọ́ bá lọ nílẹ̀ oṣù ọ̀dàkùn kó kù tèmi síre. Lékelèké ọmọ yèyí ẹlẹ́fun ìbá fún mi lóòkan ó kan tèmi ń dórí lo. Alẹ́lẹ́ onífẹ̀ ńlẹ́ ọ̀gànjọ́ onífẹ̀ àjèdodo agbẹ́jì òrọ́gbọ̀rọ̀ yọ àbàdé bí yéye. Ìyá mi ẹlùgbàgbà kẹ́gbẹ́rẹ́ tèmi wá gbogbo ara ní tẹ̀kùtẹ̀kù fi ń jowó. Mo sunkún owó Olúwa fún mi lówó bàbí. Ẹ̀bẹ̀ làmí bólúwa ọba máa fowó kẹ́yìn lọ́rọ̀ wa. Àgbààgbà tó ní ilẹ̀ odò ẹ̀dẹ́kun ẹ̀tú mi lóhùn mi ṣe. Ẹ máa gbèrè kẹ́kẹ́ mi lọ́nà o ẹ jẹ́ n ṣoríire ẹ máa gbére kẹ́kẹ́ mi lọ́nà o ẹ jẹ́ n ríre dalẹ̀. Kéré iye o ẹ má má gbé mi níyè tèmi o. Ẹ má gbé mi níyè lọ ẹ má gbé mi níyè lọ. Ẹ má gbé mi níyè lọ ẹ má gbé mi níyè lọ. Omi tútù ní tẹnu ẹja bọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ ní òtẹnu mi jáde. Omi tútù ní tẹnu ẹja bọ́ oríire ní òtẹnu mi jáde. Ẹ má gbé mi níyè mi o ẹ má gbé mi níyè tèmi. Ó jọ̀wọ́ ara ń fẹ́ o ẹ bá mi túyè tèmi jẹ́ mi. Ẹ má gbé mi níyè lọ ẹ má gbé mi níyè tèmi. Ẹ má gbé mi níyè mi o ẹ má gbé mi níyè lọ.
Ẹ kú alẹ́lẹ́ alẹ́ ẹ kú alẹ́lẹ́ ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò ẹ kú alẹ́lẹ́ ṣàlàáfíà mo bá gbogbo wa ṣé dùndún ń dùn ṣé gbogbo ẹ̀ ń dún ṣé dáadáa nílé wà ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò láṣálẹ́ yìí èmi ọmọ yín àbúrò yín olólùfẹ́ yín Dr. Mike Ọláyín Ifágúgù yín kan báyìí èmi náà ni mò ń kí gbogbo yín káàbọ̀ sórí ètò ok ó dà pé ọmọ kan mi lórí kì mí ṣé mo sì rántí báyìí ṣé mi ò tí ì gbàgbé jẹun wò bóyá mo rántí bóyá mo lè kíra mi lásàálẹ̀ kí n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò èmi lọmọ onígbó mọ́yàmọ́yà so ọmọ onígbó mọ́yàmọ́yà tọ̀ abara mi ní jọjọ bí ewé ìgbà èmi ọmọ atakìtì lórí ìrókò ọmọ afẹnugbégbá ẹbọ mo kí gbogbo yín ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò lásàálẹ̀ ẹ kújọ́ mẹ́ta ṣàlàáfíà mo dé bá gbogbo wa ṣé lè ń dùn sọdẹdẹ ń dùn ṣé dùndún ń dùn ṣé ó ń dún ṣé gbogbo ẹ ń jọra yóò ti yé gbogbo ẹ̀yin ojúlówó ọmọ Yorùbá nítorí à ń bá ọ̀rọ̀ wa bọ̀ á dé ẹ̀ka ibìkan àwọn àmúlùmọ́là àtọ̀húnrìnwá tán fẹ́ mọ pera wọn ní ọmọ Yorùbá àlá ó padà foko ọ̀lẹ mọ́ yóò fi hàn nígbà tá a bá ń bi oníkálukú kí lórí kì í lè tiyín bó náà ṣe ń kí àwọn bàbá tiẹ̀ ó ṣòro kó wá wájú mi kó mọ kiri ẹ kó níwọ ọmọ húkúhúkú ọmọ wéríwénu kó wá mọ sọ fún mi pé ọmọ Yorùbá ni ọ àjọ mú nǹkan lẹ́ǹjọ́ náà ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò ẹ kú àṣálẹ́ ẹ kújọ́ mẹ́ta ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ yín bóyá tí ń wo àkọlé tí mo kọ wípé ńbo la tún já sí ẹ jẹ́ kí n kọ́kọ́ nọ́mbẹ̀ fún yín báyìí kágbàbẹ̀ wọlé ṣé lórí ìrìn àjò tá a wà náà la wà ní òkú òǹbẹ bí ó ṣe dá ńlẹ̀ Yorùbá náà ni bí ọmọ Yorùbá ó ṣe mọra ẹ̀ bá ṣe gbára wa kúrò lóko ẹrú ṣe rí tí wọ́n bá ti brainwash èèyàn tí wọ́n ti gbé ẹ̀tàn lé lọ́wọ́ tán ti gba ojúlówó nǹkan kúrò lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ tán gbé páńdà lé lọ́wọ́ ó pọn dandan ó ṣe kókó ó ṣe pàtàkì a gbọ́dọ̀ kọ́kọ́ jẹ́ kúrò ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ̀ yìí pé ohun tán gbé lé lọ́wọ́ tó ń wò tó ń pariwo yìí kì í ṣe ojúlówó mọ́ páńdà ni wọ́n ti gba ojúlówó tó wà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ kúrò ẹni tí yóò wá gba ojúlówó nǹkan lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ tó gbé páńdà fún ọ kí ni ó ṣe yóò parọ́ fún ọ ni lára arúgbó bẹ́ẹ̀ ó ní àwọn tán ṣe nínú ìtàn wa nípa àwọn èèyàn jàǹkànjàǹkàn àwọn èèyàn gbòógì nílẹ̀ Yorùbá àwọn ojúlówó ọmọ Yorùbá tán ti wà nígbà kan rí tán ti lo sáà tán gbélé ayé ṣe rere, tán lórúkọ, tán lóríkì, tí wọ́n milẹ̀ tìtìtì tó jẹ́ pé tán bá gbórúkọ wọn ẹni ńlá ni wọ́n, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn èèyàn kan wọ́n fẹ́ bà ìtàn wọn jẹ́, wọn ò fẹ́ jẹ́ kórúkọ wọn kó gbérí. Irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ a máa dùn mọ́ àwọn tí àsòkò ẹ̀rú. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ló dẹ̀ ti nírú mentality lórí. Ẹ má bínú lásàálẹ̀ tí n bá ń ṣètò lọ, ó ṣeé ṣe kí n máa sọ òyìnbó, ẹ dáríjì mí, ẹ faramọ́. Àmọ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ohun tí mo fẹ́ fi ṣẹ̀rí, tí mo fẹ́ mú wá, èdè Yorùbá náà fi sọ. Tó tèmi bá ń sọ òyìnbó, ẹ má jọ̀ọ́ bí yín nú, nítorí pé mo ti ṣe àkíyèsí kinní kan. Kò sí bá a ṣe ní máa fòyìnbó kún ètò wa, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwọn èèyàn wa kan wà, àwọn ọmọ wa kan wà, wọn tiẹ̀ gbọ́ Yorùbá rárá. Kódà àwọn kan wà, ìran wọn bíi 3 sẹ́yìn ni wọ́n ti sọnù tí wọ́n mọ̀ pé ọmọ Yorùbá làwọn, ṣùgbọ́n tán ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń mọ̀ báyìí, àmọ́ wọn ò wá gbọ́ Yorùbá rárá. Ó wá yà mí lẹ́nu, wọ́n ń wo ètò yìí, wọ́n kàn sí mi, wọ́n bá mi sọ̀rọ̀. Wọ́n nínú àwọn á dùn tí n bá lè máa fi èdè Ìgbò kún, pé torí pé now they are learning some things, and it's making sense. Maybe I thought I was doing nothing. Maybe I thought, oh, who is watching this? Who cares? But now I know some people cares. Some people are interested. Some people are watching. Some people want to learn more. Ẹ jẹ́ n pa yín lẹ́rìn kan. Ṣé mọ̀ pé CNN wọ́n gbé nǹkan kan nípa kéèsì Mohbad, àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ ni? Tẹ́ bá mọ wàhálà tọ́rọ̀ yẹn ti dálẹ̀ nílùú òyìnbó láàárín àwọn èèyàn wa, àwọn dúdú ìlú yìí. Tẹ́ bá mọ ariwo tó ti ń lọ láàárín wọn, tẹ́ bá gbọ́ àríyànjiyàn. Ọlọ́run ló mọ iye question tí mo ti ń answer láti bí ìjẹrin báyìí. Bẹ́lẹ̀ bá rí mi, á dédé dá mi dúró. Oh, what can you tell me about Mohbad's case? Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn funfun kọ̀ọ̀kan. Nínú wọn mo rọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ tán ní ìṣègbà tí CNN tó gbé làwọn tó gbọ́. Àwọn tí mọ̀ ń pa tẹ́lẹ̀, àwọn tí ń follow. Don't be surprised. Mo ń gbọ́ lẹ́nu wọn, wọ́n ń dárúkọ àwọn sọ̀rọ̀sọ̀rọ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan tí wọ́n jẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá. Ṣùgbọ́n ohun tó jẹ́ ń dá mi dúró gangan ni pé wọ́n wá máa dárúkọ àwọn sọ̀rọ̀sọ̀rọ̀ kan, wọ́n ní àwọn ògbédè tí wọ́n sọ. Mo wá rí pé wọ́n ń dárúkọ àwọn tó jẹ́ ọmọ Ìgbò, bí kan máa dárúkọ pé you know the lady called Ada. Ada ni wọ́n ń pè yẹn o. Wọ́n máa wá dárúkọ, wọ́n ní I understand that one, but then mi fẹ́ dárúkọ èèyàn. Wọ́n máa wá dárúkọ àwọn sisters wa kan àtàwọn brothers wa kan. Wọ́n náà wọ́n ń wò ó, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn kan máa ń wo fídíò tó ń play ni, àwọn ò mọ nǹkan tí wọ́n ń sọ gangan. Ibẹ̀ náà náà tí wọ́n sọ pé ṣé o mọ̀ pé a máa ń wo show ẹ̀ náà gbà mí gan. But I understand most of the things tó ń sọ. But ń gbà mí lẹ́ẹ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan tó bá sọ òyìnbó, we gain a lot and we are understanding some things. Pé kí n máa gbìyànjú, kí n máa carry àwọn along. So ẹ má bínú, ẹ bá rí mi tí mò ń ṣètò, tí mò ń fi èdè òyìnbó sí. Kì í ṣe torí tèmi àbí torí tiyín rárá. Torí àwọn èèyàn wa wọ̀nyí tí wọ́n ti sọnù, tí wọ́n fẹ́ padà wálé, tó ń gbẹ lé ń gbẹ wọ́n, tán ti ṣe tán. Nítorí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn náà ní àwọn lọ ṣe DNA, àwọn lọ trace ibi táwọn ti wá. Wọ́n sọ pé ìran Yorùbá làwọn. Àwọn sì ṣe tán, àwọn fẹ́ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, eléyìí ṣe àhesọ, iṣẹ́ àwáwí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ni mò ń sọ fún yín. So ẹ má bínú, ẹ bá gbọ́ mi tí mò ń sọ fíntífíntín lẹ́ẹ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan, bó tẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àgbọ́ bí ó mọ̀ kọ́ wa lẹ́nu. We will try to carry them along. And I'm greeting all my brothers and sisters tonight. As requested, as advised, I will try my best to carry you along because we are all the same. We are all one and the same. I don't even care what your DNA says or where you are from. I know you are part of us. Some things happened. You found yourself where you are. But the good thing right now is you are ready to mingle. You are ready to associate. You are ready to come back. And we appreciate that. I will do everything possible for me to carry you along. Now, that being said, Tonight, we are going to be talking about a prominent woman in Yoruba land whose story had been dragged in the mud, whose name had been tarnished for a very long time, whose story has been misinterpreted, whose story has been portrayed the wrong way, or let me say, presented in the wrong form. Now, probably not intentional, or probably by mistake, or let me say by not trying to, follow due diligence by doing proper and accurate research. This woman's story has been misrepresented, and a lot of people believe that misrepresentation. And that's what most of us are still, going by. That's what we still have in our head. That's how we believe she was when she was alive. But today, I'm glad, I'm happy. Like I promise you, I've said this several times. I said the time is coming. We will try to bring evidence. We will try to revisit all these stories. Don't trouble yourself about how relevant is this. This is very relevant because we need to bring back all the lost souls. We need to retrain our brains, and we need to teach ourselves that all these wrong stories you've been fed about the Yoruba people, our culture, our heroes and heroines, who they were, what they did, it is high time we bring you the facts. And we should be thankful if we can find some of them that still have children, that their lineage has not gone into extinction, that their children, their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren are still living. Who better can tell your story other than you or your children or the people around you? But most of us want to believe what strangers tell us about ourselves, about our people. That is totally wrong. That is totally wrong. You need to tell your own story by yourself. So I'm glad today. And before I go any further, let me give kudos and accolade to whom it is highly due. Because this compilation, this story, this research, this investigation was carried out by no other person than the one and only person you all know when it comes to the history of Yoruba land, our ancestors, and our way of life. I'm not talking about any other person other than Ojulowo Itan of Ibadan land, Chief Laji Abbas himself. See, he did this story a long time ago. I watched it live when he did it. He had many series where he discussed about this, our departed Iyalode of Ibadan land. And then later, he actually went and located the children and the compound of this woman and interviewed them, which I'm going to show you today. So I will be using that. I'm borrowing that from his archive. Now, just to make a point clear to you all, Laji Abbas does not mind anybody using his video. But courtesy still demands that I give honor to whom honor is due. And courtesy demands, as I've been trained, that when you use something in your research or presentation, you need to do what? You need to give credit to whom credit is due. So therefore, I give all credit for the video you are going to watch later in this presentation to no other person than Chief Laji Abbas, Areopitan of Ibadan land. And we thank him for everything he's doing, for everything he has been doing, and is still doing. We appreciate him. We know his value. Because as you will hear later in this video, you are going to hear where one of the offspring of the late Iyalode of Ibadan land. I'm not talking about any other person than the late Iyalode of Ibadan land, late EFUNSETAN ANIWURA, who most of you believe that died with no children, who most of you believe that nobody exists in his lineage. For some of you that don't even know, you will find out today that no, Mama EFUNSETAN did not die without children. Mama EFUNSETAN's lineage still existed in Ibadan. And Mama EFUNSETAN has a very big and huge family with a huge compound. You are going to see that today. For those of us that don't know this and have not seen this, perhaps some of us have seen it on Laji Abbas' channel, which is Itan Yoruba on YouTube. Now, before I present the video, before we watch it together, there was once a story being told, which was made into a home movie, like you know, in those days when they make these DVD videos, and then the same story was presented on TV, which most of us saw, and that was the story we have in our head that we believe. This story was told by the Ishola Ogunshola Theatre Group of blessed memory, the late Pa Ishola Ogunshola. May his soul continue to rest in peace. Now, whatever mistake was made was not intentional, because according to what we had, that when they contacted him to make corrections to the, to the play or to the video, he was already sick and was at the hospital, and he didn't recover from that sickness. Otherwise, he has made a promise to represent the play the right way, and he has apologized to the family. So don't let us get anything wrong. We're not pointing accusing fingers. We're not calling anybody names. But we are doing this so we all understand that we all need to rise up. We all need to be up and doing, no matter how little it is, no matter how irrelevant you think it is. If you see anything wrong and you have the means to do something to correct it, don't ignore it. Don't overlook it. Make a move. And to all our artists, especially in Yoruba land, please and please and please, if you are going to tell the stories of any of our ancestors, of any of our heroes, please do due diligence to do your research, do your findings, talk to the right people, do your investigation. Make sure whatever story you are putting out there are the right ones. Nobody is going to tell our stories but ourselves. Now, if we're telling our own story and we cannot tell it the right way, so who is to blame? Who is to blame? Because if we are going to blame the people that want to make us slaves, then we need to talk to ourselves too. And we need to make corrections. Wọ́n ní ilé la ti ń kẹ́sọ̀ọ́ òde. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Ta ló máa bá wa kọ ìtàn wa táwa fúnra wa tá a bá fúnra wa kọ́ bá a ṣe fẹ́ kọ́? Wọ́n ní kò sẹ́ni tá a máa fún lọ́kọ́ tí ò ní roko sọ́dọ̀ ara ẹ̀. Àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ ni? Náà èèyàn tó wá fẹ́ mú ẹ lẹ́rú, èèyàn tó fẹ́ pa ìran rẹ, tó fẹ́ pa àṣà àti ṣe yín rẹ, if you allow them to write your story, they will write the wrong story for you. They will include whatever they want in there, and they will take away whatever they don't want in there. And I promise you, the ones that will be taken away will be things that will favor you. The ones that will be added in will be things that will be to your disadvantage. That is why we all need to be up and doing. Yes, it takes a lot. Perhaps it's not your job. Maybe right now, as we are talking, as we're speaking, you know of a story and you don't believe it is true. Hey, you can bring it out, write it, and let's start a discussion about it. Perhaps we will find somebody that will rise up to the occasion and help us to do the investigation. You know, I told you a few months back, there was this lady. She came all the way from abroad to go back to our people in Benue State to do the research, to ask questions from the elders, and she presented it on our YouTube page to disprove the story that has been going on for ages, that you and I heard about it and we believe it, that there is a certain tribe that when their friends come to visit them, they use their wife as entertainment, that they will allow their wife to go and sleep with their friend as part of the entertainment, which the lady was able to disprove that there has never been anything like that in their culture. They never practiced that, and they don't have any intention to practice it. And the question arose like, okay, who started this story? How did they come about this story? Nobody came out to own up and say, I'm the one that started it. Or our people started it. Oh, my father was the one that started this story, and we have evidence. There's no evidence to that effect. But the story has been going on for a very long time before this lady took it upon herself, like, I'm going to investigate this because I didn't know about anything like this. And I don't think this is right. I don't think this is true. As of today, I was one of those that believed that such things were happening in that community. But ever since the time she was able to come out and disprove that story, I'm one of the school of thought that believed that that was a lie made up by the enemies of our community to discredit them, to make them look like they are less human, like they don't know what they are doing, you know? But if she didn't take it upon herself, if she didn't do that research, if she didn't reveal the truth, maybe I will go to the grave one day believing that story, that it is true. That is why it is important. Maybe you listening to me tonight, there's a story you've been told and you believe it, but it sounds like, you know, it's something out of this world. Maybe it's high time you bring it out, or you ask questions. You let people do the research so that we can do the findings and find out what is right, what is real, what is false, you know? And that's the only way we are going to do what? We are going to bring ourselves back home. Everywhere, every point that they have discredited our ancestors, our forefathers, maybe we can bring everybody back and let them realize that, no, they are telling lies, and we are not going to accept it. Because if we can prove them wrong, then we need to start taking people to court too and suing them for defamation of characters. Perhaps defamation of characters of our ancestors. Yes. Like, I still need somebody to come out and prove to me that Satan in the Bible or in the Quran is Eshu in Yoruba land. And I'm still waiting for something to be done on that. That needs to be taken out of the Bible because it is totally wrong. Satan is not Eshu. They are two different people that shouldn't have been mixed for each other. I don't see how that came to play. Right? I'm just going there and mentioning that that's not the purpose of discussion tonight, but that's still something to think about because we are going to iron all these things out. until we get our people to understand that everything they are telling you is evil, is bad, and they are replacing those things with something worse than what they told you is bad. Until we make you understand that you need to look at those things they are telling you not to look at and examine it critically before you know which one is real, which one is right. You know? But most of us, we're living on stories. We're living on what has been handed down to us, right? By certain people. But it is high time we start asking questions. We start probing into things and not just believing everything we've been told. And then I believe we are going to get somewhere with it. Now, let's come back to the story of Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA. So, Ààrẹ Laji Abbas went to the family house, the compound of the late Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA in Ibadan, and spoke with the children. A lot of them, not just one. But most of us, what we believe was that she died without a child, right? Was that not the story that we saw on TV? That was what we watched. That was what most of us believe. Most of us believe she's just a wicked soul that doesn't love, other people. Most of us believe she's just a slave trader, right? That was what we believe, because that was what they want us to believe then. That was what we were made to believe. But now there's another side to that story. And the other side shows us something different, that no, Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA was not whom she was portrayed to be in that movie you and I saw. She's totally different. Don't let me waste your time, because actually it's getting late already. And this is just one out of many series. We're just starting with this today. Let me bring this up on the screen, and then you and I, let's listen to this interview.
ńlá kan ní ìlú Ìbàdàn, tá a bá sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ibi tí Ìbàdàn ti jẹ́ Ìbàdàn gangan, kìí ṣe ẹ̀yìn odi ìlú Ìbàdàn ìpìlẹ̀, ibẹ̀ ni mo wà. Kò wá sí agboolé méjì tí mo wà o, mo wà ní agboolé Ìyálóde EFUNSETAN ANIWURA. Adékẹ́mi Ògúnrìn gangan ni orúkọ mọ̀mọ́ Ìyálóde EFUNSETAN ANIWURA, tó ṣe pé gbogbo àgbáyé ló gbórúkọ rẹ̀ lọ́gbọ́tàn rẹ̀. Wọ́n bà ìtàn jẹ́, àwa tún ìtàn ṣe, ṣùgbọ́n mo ti wá wà lọ́dọ̀ mọ́gàjí EFUNSETAN ANIWURA gangan lónìí. Bàbá wa ẹ̀ tiẹ̀ bá wa kí àwọn aráalé tí wọ́n ń wò wá.
Mo kí ẹ̀yin aráalé o. Orúkọ mi ni Engineer Lawal Saheed Abiola EFUNSETAN, tó jẹ́ mọ́gàjí ilé EFUNSETAN.
Bàbá wa.
Did you all hear that? The late Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA has children that are still living. And one of her offspring is an engineer. You hear him. You heard him saying that, engineer. But most of us believe Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA was that one wicked woman that just lived and passed away without children. But you see, and you have one of her offspring living amongst you as an engineer today, as in he's alive, and he also has children, and there are other people amongst the offspring of EFUNSETAN ANIWURA. I believe you will have doctors, lawyers, and all that, but most of us didn't know that. We just thought, Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA was just one wicked soul that lived one time and has passed away, had no offspring. That is why it is very important that we inquire about things. We do our own research. We have a lot of enemies, especially we the Yorubas. We have a lot of people around us that don't want us to remember who we are. That is why we need to pay attention. That is why we need to be extra careful. Okay, I don't know, did most of us see this video going around today? There's a video going around right now. And this has to do, I know this is not what we are discussing today, but I have to bring this up. This has to do with the latest arrest of, is it Afa Said Shitu, right? You know, Sheikh Akeugba Gold. And you all know me, like I do say, if anybody commit any offense, I'm not saying the person should not be punished according to the law. All I'm saying is, don't abuse their fundamental human right. Don't. It is totally wrong. Not just for people that I love, not just for people that are doing Yoruba Nation, for everybody. For everybody. That's why I was looking at some of our people when they said, is it International Court of Justice? No, ECOWAS, that they have given a judgment that our own Oloye should be compensated for the mistreatment and the abuse of his fundamental human rights. But I see most of us that were laughing, that were shouting that Awikonko should be put in jail till next year, even though he has not been taken to court. And you bring that man's name in there, you bring Oloye's name in there, which means you are saying, in the name of Oloye, Awikonko's fundamental human rights should be abused. The same you are laughing, you are celebrating that Oloye was being paid or will be paid for the abuse of his right. You see why some of us said, no, we will not agree to that. No. You need to understand some things. It's not all about making noise and just coming out. No, you need to sit down and think properly. Think properly. Ẹni láti máa rántí, ẹni táyé bá ń yẹ kó máa rọra. Tọ́tá ẹ bá fẹ́ mú ẹ tí wọ́n bá rí ẹ mú, wọ́n á bẹ́ ẹ ṣọ̀rẹ́, wọ́n wá dọ́gbọ́n, wọ́n á kó páńpẹ́ sí ẹ lọ́wọ́. But most of you are daft. You refuse to listen. Torí pé a ti wá caution yín, a pè yín pé don't do that. Ẹ ti ẹ̀ farabalẹ̀, ẹ think it could be a trap. Ẹ fẹ́ bọ́ síta àwọn akàrà àwọn ọ̀tá olóyè. Nínú èmi àtẹ̀yìn ta lọ̀tá olóyè. Sẹ́yìn tẹ fẹ́ tì í pé kán bà lórúkọ jẹ́. Àtàwa tá à ń caution yín pé don't do that. Ẹ má gbórúkọ ẹ̀ wọnú ẹ̀. Ẹni tó bá fẹ́ ṣe anything tó violate human right kó lọ ṣe lórúkọ ara ẹ̀. Ẹ má gbórúkọ ẹni yẹn síbẹ̀. Do you now understand? Inú mi dùn pé Ọlọ́run tiẹ̀ wá ṣe kò pẹ́. A week after that incident, wọ́n ní ìdájọ́ ti jáde in court. Wọ́n sọ pé kán sanwó ìtanràn fólóyè. I saw the same people came out. Wọ́n ti ní kán lọ sanwó fólóyè. Owó kí náà ní kán sọ fún wọn. That is what you people need to understand. Ṣé ń gbà yẹn ṣé wọn mọ olóyè? Ṣé wọn ṣe nǹkan fólóyè? Ṣé gbà yẹn ṣáà máa pariwo pé tó ń ṣe fólóyè kò right lábẹ́ òfin, right? But àwọn mú olóyè, wọ́n dẹ̀ ń claim kò right. Ṣé ìgbà tó yá ṣáwọn kan tó jù wọ́n lọ wọ́n padà wá sọ fún pé ohun tẹ́ ẹ ṣe ò right o, ẹ fọwọ́ pẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn lójú ni. Like I said, there are some things I just want to let it go. I want to leave it alone. Bí táwọn Ọlọ́run ṣe wà yẹn, tí ò bá jẹ́ onísùúrù ni, tó bá fẹ́ pé àwọn tó tì mọ́lé yẹn lẹ́jọ́, ó máa pè wọ́n lẹ́jọ́, ó máa gba owó lọ́wọ́ wọn, tó rántí jẹ̀bi ẹ̀, wọ́n fọwọ́ pẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, but like I said, ọmọlúàbí ni wá, kò dẹ̀ sẹ́ni tó wá fa wàhálà. Inú mi dẹ̀ dùn, ta lọ́lọ́run ti yanjú ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ bó ṣe fẹ́ yanjú ẹ̀. But we need to get some things straight. We need to understand some things. Don't encourage people to violate other people's rights. Because at the end of the day, ní símbẹ̀ ńgbà tí wàhálà ẹ̀ bá dé. But let's leave that on the side. Ẹ gbọ́ recently, eléyìí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ tí Alhaji Akeugba Gold tí wọ́n ṣe. Ẹ̀dẹ̀gbọ́ báwọn náà ṣe ti sọ ṣáájú pé this is not about putting somebody in jail. This is not about maltreating somebody. It's about doing things right. This is all I want. Once this is done, yes, let's sort it out and everybody move on. But ṣe rí pé àwọn wàhálà kan tún ti wá ń dìde lábẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn. Níbi wàhálà tó wá ń dìde yẹn lèmi wá fẹ́ sáré sọ̀rọ̀ kí n tó kú òun bẹ́ẹ̀. Níjọ́ kìíní àná ńgbà tí wọ́n jáde tí wọ́n ní Ògo Ìlọrin ti gbé ta lọ lọ́hùn. Ṣé gbogbo yín lẹ rántí? The first thing tó sọ immediately wọ́n ní kì í ṣe torí ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn ni wọ́n ṣe gbé. Wọ́n nítorí pé ó báyàn lórúkọ jẹ́, ó bú àwọn bàbá àwọn, right? Which some of us are saying pé a mọ̀ pé kì í ṣe torí nǹkan tán ṣe gbé nìyẹn. Torí ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn ni. Torí nǹkan tán fẹ́ lọ ṣe ní Ìlọrin, tán plan tán fẹ́ lọ ṣe, òun náà ṣe gbé ta lọ lọ́hùn. But most people don't want to understand. Wọ́n ní ká gbẹ́nu sọ̀hún, ẹ fẹ́ dá wàhálà lẹ, ẹ fẹ́ ṣe gbé, ẹ fẹ́ ṣàwò, àdákẹ́. Right? Wọ́n sáré jáde, wọ́n ní kì í ṣe ẹ má sọ pé ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn o, kò ní nǹkan kan ṣe pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn o. Then some of you ẹ support nǹkan tó ń ṣe yẹn nítorí pé you see yourself as Muslims and you believe pé ta lọ́lọ́run jó Kùránì, so torí ẹ̀ náà ṣe gbé, ó gbọ́dọ̀ jìyà. Ohun tí ó dẹ̀ yé yín ni pé kì í ṣe pé torí pé ta lọ́lọ́run jó Kùránì náà ṣe gbé. No, they didn't pick him up because of that. Wọn ò fẹ́ kán wá sí Ìlọrin wá ṣe ọdún ìṣẹ̀ṣe tán náà fẹ́ ṣe ni gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ̀sìn tiwọn, which is totally wrong because wọ́n fọwọ́ pa ẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn àwọn èèyàn yẹn lójú nìyẹn. But wọ́n sáré jáde, wọ́n ní kì í ṣe torí ẹ̀, kì í ṣe torí ẹ̀ o. The same person tó jáde tó sọ pé kì í ṣe torí ẹ̀, ṣé mọ̀ pé nínú ọ̀rọ̀ tó sọ lánàá ẹ lọ gbọ́ dáadáa, ó sọ pé ẹni tí ṣe ìkàkẹ́ ó gba góòdù gbé ìgangan làwọn fẹ́ gbé tó yẹ káwọn gbé. Ibi tó ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn bọ́ sí lẹ́nu, ó nítorí pé wọ́n náwọn ń bọ̀ wá sọdún ìṣẹ̀ṣe nílọrin ló jẹ́ káwọn tètè lọ gbé ta lọ́lọ́run. Ẹ lọ gbọ́, èmi kọ́ ni mo sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Tó ta bá ń sọ̀rọ̀, ẹ má máa attack ẹ má rò pé àmọ́ tá à ń sọ. Ìwọ tó bá sáré lọ ń support èèyàn torí pé wọ́n ń tẹ̀, wọ́n sọ pé torí pé ọmọ ìyá mi ni ọ́, wọ́n fẹ́ attack ẹ̀sìn wa, ìwọ náà wá lọ attack ọmọ Yorùbá bíi tiẹ̀. Ronú ẹ̀ dáadáa, ronú ẹ̀ dáadáa, farabalẹ̀. Watch nǹkan pé okay, why are we doing this? Kí ni reason, kí ni meaning nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ṣe? Tó ṣeé ṣe àwọn èèyàn wo ló wà ní ohun tá a fẹ́ ṣe yìí? Tó ṣeé ṣe káwọn ní ulterior motive. Kémi máa mọ̀, ó kàn jẹ́ pé wọ́n fẹ́ lò mí, wọ́n fẹ́ add mi mọ́ number. A lot of you, they are just adding you to the numbers. They have their own ulterior motive, which after they might have achieved it, they don't care about you or how you feel afterwards. Ohun tó yẹ kó lọ máa yé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa nìyẹn. So tó bá rí wọn, tán ní bóyá torí ẹ̀sìn ni, tán ń ba ìtàn ilẹ̀ Yorùbá jẹ́, àbí tán fẹ́ máa rán ẹ̀ńṣẹ́ pé kó máa dá wàhálà lẹ́yìn Yorùbá tó darapọ̀ mọ́ wọn. Ẹdìyẹ tó ń tọ̀ sísàsùn lọ̀rọ̀ ẹ, sàárè ara ẹ̀ ló ń bàjẹ́. When they are done using you, when they might have achieved their aim, they are going to bounce on you. They are going to pounce on you. Ẹ má bínú, ìṣe ọmọ kékeré, ìṣọkùnrin, ìṣobìnrin, ìṣe ọba, ìṣe ìjòyè, ló ń ṣe irú ìwà yẹn. You are just a tool. They are using you for right now. Once they are done with you, ẹ gbé máa ń tẹnu mọ́ màá dẹ̀ tún sọ lásàálẹ̀. Mo ń gbà á ládùúà fún yín, ẹ̀yin bàbá wa tẹ ní ẹ ní adé. Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kẹ́ fi adé yẹn pa ìtàn nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kí adé yín kó di nǹkan tí wọ́n máa gbé sí orí ibì kan, tí wọ́n máa kó nǹkan sínú ẹ̀, tí wọ́n á sọ di àjọgbá. Àdúrà mi nìyẹn. Ọlọ́run á dẹ̀ jẹ́ kó tètè jọ yé gbogbo wa kí nǹkan tó bọ́ sórí. Now, ẹ jẹ́ á padà sórí ìtàn ìyálóde ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà tá à ń bá bọ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ ká padà síbẹ̀.
Tá a bá ń béèrè, ìkankan ni mo kọ́kọ́ fẹ́ ká kọ́kọ́ yìn nàná, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn ò mọ̀. Ìgboro ìlú Ìbàdàn, ilé yín nìkan nínú àwọn tó ń rólé láti jẹ Olúbàdàn nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn, agboolé yín fi nǹkan kan yàtọ̀. ilé yín nìkan ṣoṣo kí ló fi yàtọ̀ ní gbogbo agboolé yòókù nìbàdàn tó ń rólé láti jẹ Olúbàdàn?
Ó yàtọ̀ nítorí pé ìyá wa Ẹfúnṣetán obìnrin ni, akíkanjú obìnrin ni. Nípa akitiyan ẹ̀ àti bó ṣe jẹ́ nílùú Ìbàdàn ló fi jẹ́ pé òun nìkan lóbìnrin tó jẹ́ pé ó lè láti ìdílé rẹ̀ lọ lè rólé.
Láti ìdílé rẹ̀
lọ lè rólé.
náà lè rólé.
Kò sí nílùú Ìbàdàn, kò sí ìdílé míì tó lè jẹ́ ìdílé obìnrin míì tí wọ́n lè rólé nílùú Ìbàdàn.
Tí a bá gbàgbé nígbà mo sọ ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà tí mo jẹ́ ká mọ ojúlówó ìtàn, mo sọ lórí rédíò nílùú Ìbàdàn, mo sọ lórí rédíò nílùú Ìlọrin, mo sì sọ lórí Facebook àti YouTube. Ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́yìn tó jẹ́ ojúlówó àti ìwádìí ìjìnlẹ̀ tó wọlé tá a sì mú ẹ̀rí wá. Mo wá parí ẹ̀ wípé pẹ̀lú gbogbo ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ àti bẹ́ẹ̀ ń tẹ́ ṣe fún Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà kó má bàa di wàhálà, kó má bàa di ogun láàrin Ẹ̀gbá àti Ìbàdàn. Wọ́n ní tó kù tá a ṣe ni wípé kílé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà àwọn èèyàn rẹ̀ kí wọ́n máa rólé ilé obìnrin tó ṣe pé obìnrin ló pilẹ̀ rẹ̀, òun nìkan ṣoṣo nílé obìnrin.
Did you all hear that? Ṣé gbogbo alágbọ́n tó sọ yẹn? Ṣé gbogbo wa la gbọ́ nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ yẹn? Ìyáàfin Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ọmọ Ẹ̀gbá ni, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. A lot of people didn't know that. Wípé ọmọ Ẹ̀gbá ni ìyáàfin Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà. Bọ̀ ẹ wá wo bí lifestyle ìyá yẹn ṣe lọ. Ẹ wá wo ibi tí ìyá yẹn ti gbẹ̀rẹ̀ gẹ̀dígẹ̀. Ẹ wo ibi tí orí dá sí. Ẹ wo ibi tí orí sọ pé yóò ti di kíni, yóò di èèyàn ńlá, yóò di èèyàn pàtàkì. Ẹ wá wo pẹ̀lú irú story tí wọ́n sọ fún wa yẹn, ibi tẹ́yìn náà ti máa mọ òótọ́ tó wà nínú ìtàn yẹn. This is where you know the truth. In those days, is it possible for Ibadan people to just kill Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà, who happens to come from Ẹ̀gbá land that time like that, and the Ẹ̀gbá people will keep quiet? They will not ask questions. They will not come to Ibadan and ask them, what did you do to our daughter? That is where you will know pé story tí ẹ wò yẹn, tẹ́ gbọ́ yẹn, there are loopholes in there. Àwọn nǹkan kan ò right. Inú mi dẹ̀ dùn yìí pé irú ìtàn eléyìí nìsín, ara àwọn ọmọ màmá yẹn, ara àwọn family wọn tí wọ́n jáde, and they are making corrections and they are talking about it. Inú mi dẹ̀ dùn pé aréyàn bíi Olóyè Ààrẹ Laji Abbas that took it upon himself to go to them and put these stories straight. They know mistake ti ṣẹlẹ̀ o, and we need to make corrections, right? Ẹ jẹ́ á tẹ̀síwájú.
Tí ń rólé nílùú Ìbàdàn tí wọ́n lè jẹ mọ́gàjí. Àrólé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà tòní, àrólé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà náà ni ẹ̀ ń wò lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ mi. Kí ọ̀rọ̀ bá lè yé wa, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn tí ẹ mọ̀ pé ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ń bẹ níbàdàn. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn mọ̀ pé àwọn ẹbí Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà, àwọn àrọ́mọdọ́mọ Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ń bẹ. Bàbá wa àkọ́kọ́, níbo ni agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà wà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá? Ìlú wo ló wà? Níbo ló wà gan?
Òdìgbà tó bá ṣe ń sọ kò pé méjì. Ìlú Ìbàdàn ni.
Ìlú Ìbàdàn ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Ọjà ọba.
Ọjà ọba.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Nílé
Ẹfúnṣetán tí wọ́n kọ́ ń gbé, kódà tó ń gbé táwọn ẹrú gan wà pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ ní ọjà ọba. Àwọn
ilé wo ló súnmọ́ yín ní ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà? Àwọn agboolé ńlá wo ló tún súnmọ́ yín nílùú Ìbàdàn?
Agboolé Mọ́yẹ̀ ń bẹ lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ wa ń bí. Omíyalé, Apẹtẹ, adúmọ̀ lóríṣiríṣi tán súnmọ́ alẹ́gbẹ̀gbẹ̀ mi.
Ilé kojú náà.
Iná kojú náà
bẹ́ẹ̀. Ilé àwọn gómìnà wa àná, Ajímọ̀bí. Òun náà bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ó dà wọ́n lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ wa ń bí.
Lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ yín gangan ni ó wà. Ilé àńlá, òun náà bẹ́ẹ̀. Tàbá wá rìn lọ gẹ̀rẹ̀, à ń lọ sílé Orówùsì ní Kọ̀bọ́mọjẹ́.
Lẹ́yìn wa nìyẹn bẹ̀.
Tó agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà iná la wà ẹ́, ìyálòde ilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn. Bàbá wa Mọ́gàjí Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà, ẹnjìníà Lawal Saheed Abíọ́lá Ẹfúnṣetán. Tá a bá ń béèrè irú èèyàn wo ni Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà?
Àwọn fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ìyá wa, èèyàn takuntakun ni, obìnrin bí ọkùnrin ni.
Obìnrin bí ọkùnrin
ni. a lè sọ pé láti ìgbà tí wọ́n ti bí Ẹfúnṣetán a lè pè ní àkàndé èèyàn torí pé ẹni tó bá pè lákàndé èèyàn lẹ́ni tí nǹkan tí a máa ṣe a máa jẹ́ nǹkan ọ̀tun, nǹkan tó yàtọ̀. Ọlọ́run fún ní agbára láti, a lè pè ní pé Ọlọ́run fún lágbára látọ̀run wá gan ni. Ó jẹ́ obìnrin alágbára, ó sì jẹ́ oníṣòwò tí gbogbo èèyàn mọ̀. Ṣòwò ní láyé ìgbà yẹn a máa lọ sí ìlú kan lọ sí ìlú bòmí, láti ìlú ẹ̀ lọ sí bòmí. Òun òwò náà ló ṣe tó fi dé Ìbàdàn. A máa lọ sí Ghana ra gold, a máa kẹrù, a máa rẹrù.
Góòlù tí rà láfi pè ní ANIWURA. Ní máa lọ ilẹ̀ Ghana
lọ ilẹ̀ Ghana síbi tí ò ń lọ láti lè ra nǹkan.
Bàbá wa tá a bá béèrè oríṣiríṣi láti rí ká máa mú lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan. Nínú eré tí wọ́n ṣe olóògbé Ìṣọ̀lá Ògúnṣọlá Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA, ìwé Professor Akínwùmí Ìṣọ̀lá Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA, wọ́n bá pa àlọ́ ìlọ rẹpẹtẹ. Wọ́n pa àlọ́ rẹpẹtẹ. Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA látòsàmúlẹ́rú nígbà ọ̀yá ló gbé májèlé jẹ. Ikú Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA bó o ló ṣe rí? Ikú Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA bó o ló ṣe rí?
Ṣe rí kò sẹ́ni tí ò mọ̀ pé Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA obìnrin bí ọkùnrin ni. Kódà lóòótọ́ kò sẹ́ni tọ́lọ́run ò lè pa, ṣùgbọ́n ẹni tó bá fẹ́ pa Ẹfúnṣetán, kódà mi ò láyé ìgbà tá à ń sọ yìí ó ṣọ̀wọ́n torí pé obìnrin takuntakun ni. Lórí ìbéèrè tẹ́ wá béèrè yìí, kò sẹ́ni tí ó pa Ẹfúnṣetán torí pé Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ aṣọ̀fọ̀. Àsìkò tí ó ń ṣọ̀fọ̀ ọmọ ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́, tí ó wà nílé tó ń ṣọ̀fọ̀ ọmọ ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ni Látòòṣà. Ẹ sì mọ̀ pé Látòòṣà àwọn náà ló bá ń kó wọn ní, ó bá ń fún wọn ní nǹkan ogun tó fi lójú, kódà àwọn náà ló bá ń ṣoúnjẹ fún wọn, gbogbo bá ṣe máa ń ṣe òun náà ni Látòòṣà ránṣẹ́ sí wípé ogun ya, ó sì ń ṣọ̀fọ̀ lọ́wọ́, ó lóun ò lè lọ lásìkò tó ń wá yìí. Obìnrin ìyá tá dẹ̀ ń sọ yìí, obìnrin yìí ni ó máa fa.
I need you all to listen to this part of the story very well. They might understand the big mistake, problem, and other things always crawl into our story in Yoruba land. You see where the enmity started now. Remember now, the man said, Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA is well-to-do. She's rich. She has powers. She has always had power. She was blessed with that. She's rich. And then she's also the one, she was the one that always cooked for these warriors when they are going to war. She was the one supplying the money. She was their financier. The one supplying the money they were using to procure whatever they need for any type of war. You see, if you look at this modern day, you are talking about somebody that has political power in the society, right? But look at the way they now turn the story around later, as if she was just one wicked soul that didn't do nothing good. And when we look at the history of Yoruba land, a lot of things happen in Yoruba land. We know the importance and the relevance of people of high repute, people of high reputation in those days that would put down their money to procure weapons, that would put their time to cook food for the warriors, just to safeguard not just Ibadan land, but Yoruba land. You need to start thinking about that and start putting that woman, the late Ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA, in that category, and not where you place her before as one wicked soul, as one witch, àjẹ́ tó kàn pa ọmọ jẹ, tó kàn pa àwọn èèyàn nípakúpa. No. Based on what we know now, that's not who she was. But that was the story we were told. Let's move on.
Tó jẹ́ pé Látòòṣà fúnra rẹ̀ gan kò mọ bó ṣe lè sọ ni òun gan nífẹ̀ẹ́ Ẹfúnṣetán. Kódà àwọn olóyè ẹgbẹ́, àwọn olóyè Látòòṣà gan wọ́n wá ń kẹnu sí Ẹfúnṣetán láti ṣe pé wọ́n fẹ́ fi ṣe aya. So nítorí ìdí èyí a lè pè é ní bóyá ká sọ pé inú bíbí àbí kéèyàn máa fẹ́ kéèyàn máa wò pé ẹni yìí bó ṣe tó yìí àti ẹ̀mọ́ tá a tẹ̀ lè bá yọ sí. tó ń torí ìdílé bẹ́ẹ̀ tẹ̀ bèrè lọ́wọ́ mi kò sẹ́ni tó pa Ẹfúnṣetán o. Kódà Ẹfúnṣetán nígbà tí Látòòṣà ń kógun bọ̀ tó rí pé kàkà tí wọ́n fi kógun bọ̀ òun nínú ilé fúnra ara ẹ̀ báyìí òun ló pé èèyàn tó ní bóun náà ṣe máa ń pe kíná wọn lájọ òun láyọjọ́ òun ládùúgbò ló sì súnú ilé tí wọ́n fi yẹ ládùúgbò lù lórí láti òkè àjà. kò sí pé èèyàn kankan ló pa
ìyẹn ni pé wọ́n ṣekú pa ni kì í ṣe pé bóyá wọ́n mú lẹ́rú.
irọ́ o
wọn ò mú lẹ́rú.
Ẹfúnṣetán ló ń kóyàn lẹ́rú a máa rẹrú.
gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìwádìí tí a ṣe àti ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìtàn nípa ọ̀rọ̀ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ẹ rí i pé èmi a máa ṣe ìwádìí ìtàn dógóńgó. ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ẹgbẹ́ kọ́kọ́ kọ ìwé Ìbàdàn òní ọba Akínyẹlé wọn ètí ìjọba nígbà náà ọba Abbas Alẹ́sìnlọ́yẹ́ ní ń bẹ ní ọba lásìkò tí wọ́n ń kọ ìwé yìí. èmi ò rò pé ọba Akínyẹlé tó kọ ìwé ó láǹfààní àti rí the history of the Yorùbá tí Reverend Samuel Johnson kọ. Reverend Samuel Johnson mọ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ní èmi ní ìwọ rèé torí pé ọmọ wa gbòòrò Ìbàdàn. nígbà tí ọ̀rọ̀ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà tó ṣẹlẹ̀ Reverend Samuel Johnson láǹfààní àti wà níbàdàn kìí ṣe pé wọ́n sọ gbogbo ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ fún. Reverend Samuel Johnson wá ní gbogbo bí ìgbẹ́jọ́ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ṣe lọ ohun tó sojú òun ni àwọn ẹrú méjì tí Kúmú yìí lọ tó gbéṣẹ́ fún kí wọ́n yẹ nǹkan lu Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà lórí ìgbà tí wọ́n ṣe ìdájọ́ wọn ní ọjà aba kan náà níbàdàn òun fojú rí wọn gbà wọ́n bẹ́ wọn lórí bẹ́ẹ̀ torí pé ọ̀rọ̀ ikú Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ó dá wàhálà lẹ̀ láàrin Ẹ̀gbá àti Ìbàdàn. Ẹ̀gbá ni Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ọmọ ìlú Ìkìjà Ẹ̀gbá ni ilẹ̀ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà torí náà láti pa ọmọ ìlú kan yóò di wàhálà láàrin orílẹ̀-èdè míì orílẹ̀-èdè nílẹ̀ Ẹ̀gbá àwọn Ẹ̀gbá pọ̀ wọ́n wá rán àwọn àmbásádọ̀ aṣojú wá láti Abẹ́òkúta ẹ bá wa béèrè ikú wo lọ́pọ̀ ọmọ wa o. ibẹ̀ nínú ìwé Reverend Samuel Johnson kìí ṣe ń tó rújú ó sojú rẹ̀ ló kọ́ torí pé ọgbọ̀n ọdún ìní Reverend Samuel Johnson fi kọ ìwé rẹ̀ tó pè ní the history of the Yorùbá ó parí kíkọ ìwé rẹ̀ ní ọdún 1897 ọdún 1897 Ẹfúnṣetán ó sì tàbá wá yọ 1897 kúrò nínú ọgbọ̀n ọdún 1867 ìní Reverend Samuel Johnson bẹ̀rẹ̀ kíkọ ìwé rẹ̀ lẹ́yìn tó túmọ̀ sí wípé ó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìwé rẹ̀ gan kíkọ kí ọ̀rọ̀ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ó tó ṣẹlẹ̀ torí pé àárín ọdún 1873 sí 74 ni wọ́n pa Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà.
Now, I want to say something right here. You see, this man they are talking about, Reverend Samuel Johnson, you see, if you really want to know a lot, I'm talking about the truth, stuff that are facts, not stories, fables. Get that book, The History of the Yorubas by Reverend Samuel Johnson. I read the book one time. I didn't read everything. I only read the part that was needed for my project when I was graduating. Because that was one of the books I read for my project while I was doing my project for final year. Because I chose a topic that has to, you see, when God wants to use you for something, tẹ́lẹ̀dùmarè bá fẹ́ gbéṣẹ́ fún ẹ tó bá fẹ́ rán ẹ ní nǹkan, ó máa wà lára ẹni tó máa jẹ́ kan gbòógì nínú àwọn tó máa attack nǹkan yẹn, tó máa ṣe nǹkan bíi pé kíní yẹn ń bí ẹ nínú. The topic I wrote my project on then was Yoruba beliefs and culture as an obstacle to effective health care. Yoruba beliefs and culture as an obstacle to effective health care delivery. That was my project topic because I so much look at the Yoruba culture and tradition and the way we handle stuff as if everything is just superstition. Agbo, kí làgbo, wọ́n lọ ń tó ṣẹ̀ ní ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn wọ́pá, wọ́n ní kíní kan ìgbóná, kíní kan, you know, that was the kind of mentality I had then. And I was looking at the Western way of life as the best. So all I was trying to do was to fault everything our forefathers did. That is why we are not progressing today. That is why our health care cannot progress. But see, that was because that was what I chose to believe. Because if I had chosen the other way around to look at the good side, I would have found a lot of things to talk about. But based on the brainwashing and the mentality I had in my head, the Western way was the best. So I want to prove that our forefathers' ways are nothing to write home about. And lo and behold, it's a lot of things you don't know about that when you go to read this book, you will discover something. Even personally, myself, I discovered some things about myself, my lineage, my people, how we are related to the Ijesha people and all that. How I can prove to you that an Ijesha man is related to an Ekiti man. I discovered all that in that book. Okay? And how we came about some names. Ilesha, Ijesha. In that book, I was reading stuff like Ijesha, Ijeorisha. You know, and all sort of stuff that I came about in that book. It talks about in the olden days when they used to have smallpox and all that, what they were doing, you know, all this stuff. So when you talk about the history of the Yorubas by Reverend Samuel Johnson, I know it's a lot of fact and truth because that man was present when he wrote that book. He wrote what he saw. He wrote what he witnessed. Everything he wrote down were things that he saw. They were things that he witnessed. Okay? So that is why that book is important. Even though if you get some other books, you can make reference and look at what he wrote, what this person wrote, what that person wrote. I can promise you right now, most often you will find his own write-up with meet up and correspond with a lot of other truth sayers that wrote the same story. And when you start finding people that are writing something different, you know such people are the people that want to do what? They want to destroy Yoruba land. They don't want us to know who we are. They don't want us to keep track of events. So when I hear Arelaji Abbas, every time he mentioned that book, The History of the Yorubas by Reverend Samuel Johnson, I can relate with that because that was a book I read. I didn't read it in totality because I was not reading it for history purpose. I was just reading it for my project purpose. But I remember I came across a lot of facts and I learned a lot of stuff, even though I was not doing history, but it was like I was studying for history because I had no choice. I just had to read some part of it. And then I got deeper into it. I even went more than what I needed for my project. But at the end of the day, that project was almost a flop because it took one of my professors to ask me just one simple question. And then I realized I made a mistake. Everything I was talking about, they were not problems. They were not issues. They just need to be developed. Our government just need to look into it and help them to develop it, which not quite long from that time, in the same Ilorin, Kwara State, they came up with Ipate Ishegun. They started measuring quantities. These are stuff that I was pointing to in my project that we don't do that. Our prescriptions don't have quantity. And it's always use as you go, that it doesn't sound right. And part of my questions were, how could you say just one thing is a cure for everything? Gbogbo nishe, epa jebu, you know, all those stuff. But at the end of the day, I was the one that now, you know, looked like a fool in the presence of everybody in the hall while I was defending my project, because I couldn't explain some things when I was asked those questions. And then it dawned on me, and then I realized, like, you know what? You made a mistake. You should have spoken for this thing and not against it, because there's nothing wrong with this. It just needs to be improved. And you could have even got more accolades and even more recommendations if you would have come up with solutions to what you saw as problems, rather than attacking it and presenting those problems just to destroy, you know. That was one lesson I learned that day. And I think that was the beginning. That was part of my turning point when I started looking at things differently. Like, oh, wait a minute. Why are we attacking our ancestors' way of life? They did their best. They made use of what was available to them. We just need to improve it. That's all we need to do. So when I hear somebody mention that book about history in Nigeria, especially when it comes to Yoruba people, when I hear somebody mention that book, Reverend Samuel Johnson, The History of the Yorubas, I know and I understand, because I've read part of it before.
Reverend Samuel Johnson sọ ọsọ déètì ọjọ́ tí wọ́n ṣekú pa EFUNSETAN ANIWURA, torí náà kò rújú. Mo sì ti sọ ìtàn yìí, ẹ lọ wo orí YouTube ìtàn Yorùbá, ìtàn EFUNSETAN ANIWURA ń bẹ́ẹ̀. Bàbá wa, ilé tá a wà yìí, ilé EFUNSETAN ANIWURA gan-an. Ibi tá a sin EFUNSETAN ANIWURA sí ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ibi tá a sí kan ń bẹ́ẹ̀ wọn.
Ibẹ̀ ni a ṣe aṣọ sí, àfihàn àwọn ará ilé, a sì tó jọ ya àwòrán bẹ́ẹ̀ níbi tá a sí. Torí pé níjọ́ inú yàrá ni wọ́n máa ń sin àwọn alágbára sí. Lẹ́yìn ààrẹ Látòsà tá a lọ sí sẹ́yìn odi ìlú ní ààrẹ avenue, torí pé wọ́n ń sin kàkànfò sínú ilé, ẹ̀yìn odi ìlú wọ́n máa ń sin kàkànfò sí. Bàbá wa, tàbá.
Before we go any further, I need to say something right here too. Imagine in the olden days when we have all these great men and women, warriors with powers, and then they pass away. Like Ojulowo Itan rightfully said, that they buried them inside the house. They will dig inside one room and make their grave there and bury them there. And see, you know, in that house, people will be sleeping there, and you hardly find any time or any opportunity where there will be nobody around for too long. Which means those people, those corpses are protected from all these bad people that we have nowadays. Let's bring it down to this new age. You see now, even people that are not powerful, people that pass away, and there are people go and bury them outside. These people go there overnight. They cut their head off. They take the dead body away. Imagine if they would have buried somebody with such powers outside, where these hoodlums, these idiots, these so-called Christians and Muslims nowadays will go there and, you know, uproot their dead bodies or cut their head off and take it away to go and do their voodoo, to go and do their juju. Because if you and I will sit down here and lie to each other, we will say, we will act and pretend like we don't know. But you and I know the people that are being caught, you know, perpetrating all these evil acts. Most of them are Christians like you and I, Muslims like you and I. So let's not deceive ourselves. Now, if some people will come up now, they will say, oh, that's a bad attitude. Oh, that's a bad practice. Why are you burying people in the house? Okay, tell me, how does that affect you? What harm did it do to you? I understand. But in those days, Idaluni Shelu, That was their way. But see, when these hoodlums will present this to you today, they will bring it to you in such a way and say, oh, look at what they were doing. So barbaric. But the culture of these strangers they are bringing to you, those people also did the same thing during that era. But they are not going to bring that to you. They will just tell you, that was a very bad thing. Why are they burying people in the house? But see, today people are not burying people in the house no more. They're taking them to graveyard. They're burying them outside, and these hoodlums are going there, digging up the grave overnight, cutting their head off, or taking the old dead body away. You see that? Let's move ahead.
Sinimá kan jáde láìpẹ́ yìí nípa Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà. Bó ni ọ̀rọ̀ sinimá yìí ṣe rí?
Níjọ́ Sunday tó kọjá yìí.
Ẹ bá wa gbóhùn sókè torí àwọn ará.
Níjọ́ Sunday tó kọjá yìí. Ọdí máa bí bò ní Sunday tó kọjá yìí. Ni mo tiẹ̀ rí ní DSTV tí wọ́n ṣò Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà. Jẹ́ ti ẹ̀ wo ohun táwọn ilé náà tún kọ. Àwọn ìbànújẹ́ ló jẹ́ fún mi nígbà tí mo wo fíìmù yìí torí pé gbogbo ohun tí wọ́n kọ tí wọ́n sọ nípa Ẹfúnṣetán kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ó bà mí jẹ́ gan-an, ó bà mí kódà omi fẹ́ lè máa yọ lójú mi torí pé ìbanilórúkọ jẹ́ nílé ìjẹ́. Bí wọn ò bá tiẹ̀ mọ̀ tán ó yẹ kí wọ́n súnmọ́ torí pé Ẹfúnṣetán ṣe ń bẹ àwa náà ra wà láṣẹ wà ń bì a sì tún bímọ ọmọ wa náà sì tún ń bẹ. So bí wọn ò bá tiẹ̀ mọ̀ tán a sì láwọn bàbá gan bí tó ti jẹ́ bàbá fáwa gan. Gbogbo bí ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán ṣe lọ ó ń wà ọwọ́ wa kò ṣe àjèjì sí wa àmọ́ gbogbo ohun tí wọ́n kọ nípa Ẹfúnṣetán kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o.
Tí wọ́n fi ṣe sinimá.
Tí wọ́n fi ṣe sinimá yìí kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o.
Wọn ò wá bẹ̀yìn mọ̀lẹ́bí.
Wọn ò wá yọjú sí wa rárá o.
Wọn ò ṣèwádìí.
Wọn ò ṣèwádìí kódà bí òun ẹni tó ṣe o. Ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán kọ́ ló kọ́ o. Èmi ò mọ ibi tí wọ́n ti rí tàn tí wọ́n kọ́ o.
Ìta máa sọ fún wa rèé. Ẹ rí wípé ààrẹ òpìtàn Lájí Abbas tí n bá fẹ́ sọ̀tà alágbára kan àbí ìlú kan àbí ìdílé kan màá lọ o màá tọpinpin. Lẹ́yìn ìgbà mo ṣe ìwádìí dáadáa nípa ọ̀rọ̀ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà mo tún wá sí agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà. Mo rò pé bóyá bí ọdún 4 sẹ́yìn ni màá kọ́kọ́ wá sí agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà pé ẹ wá Ẹfúnṣetán sí ìran wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ ń bàdàn tá a tiẹ̀ làwọn ọmọ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà. Mo wá rí i pé ìdílé tó lóókọ láwọn èèyàn tó sì jẹ́ èèyàn pàtàkì ní àwọn ìran Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà. Báyìí ni mo ṣe tọ àwọn ìran Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà wá. Mo sì rí bàbá wa Yusuf Salami kọ́ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ní ọdún náà lọ́hùn. Olú mi sì dùn bàbá wa sì tún bẹ ní ayé. Kódà ìgbà náà àti ìjẹmọ́gàjì tuntun bàbá ní wípé kódà àwọn múra àti jẹmọ́gàjì àbáwọn fẹ́ kó ṣe pé ẹni tó jẹ́ ọ̀dọ́ ẹni ọ̀jẹmọ́gàjì tí ó lè máa sojú ilé. Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kẹ́mi bàbá wa ogun. Atọ́ pínpín kì í ṣe pé akẹwà bọ́ sórí afẹ́fẹ́ à ń sọ ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà a sì wádìí dáadáa. Èmi ò rò pé ìtí ọ̀wáyé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn mọ́gàjì. Pòfẹ́sọ̀ Akínwùmí Ìṣọ̀lá tọkọ ìwé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ní ọdún 1976 ìní ọjáde tó sọ sínú ìwé Tribune tó tọrọ àforíjì lọ́wọ́ ìdílé yín kódà lórí tí ọkọ èmi rò pé pàì kí wọ́n tiẹ̀ máa gbéwé jáde mọ́ ibi tí ìdílé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ó ti ṣiṣẹ́ nù pépà Tribune jọ́nà sì gba àwọn tó ń tẹ ìwé jáde wọ́n kọjá dúró torí kò ní yẹ pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn pé ìwé eré aláré ni. ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì iná ní ti olérè orí ìtàgé àtòní gbajúgbajà òṣèré Dr. Aiso Pepe Ìṣọ̀lá Ògúnṣọlá àwọn náà tọrọ àforíjì lọ́wọ́ ìdílé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà àsìkò tó ń múra àti ṣe àtúnṣe ìníkú pa nígbà náà. Irú ẹ̀ lẹ́lòmíì tó wá ń ṣe ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ìtàn míì bá láti ń ṣe àtúnṣe. Ìdí ìjọba tó bá jẹ mọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀tàn nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lè sọ pé bóò ní ti ààrẹ òpìtàn ilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn ti jẹ́ o. Ààrẹ Lájí Abbas gbẹnu sọ́wọ́ sí fún mi bí ìtàn torí páwọ̀ ọ̀tọ̀ àwọn ẹbí lọ a sì gbọ́ ọ̀tún á gbọ́ òsì àwọn tí àwọn ẹbí náà tó bá ló gbà kí làwọn náà tó sọ nípa ẹbí wọn ká tó lè fi ẹsẹ̀ ìtàn múlẹ̀ gbèlè tàṣe pé ẹni tó ṣe ojú rẹ̀ eyes witness ìní Reverend Johnson jẹ́ nínú ìdájọ́ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà. Ẹ lọ wòwe Reverend Johnson ìwé ti wà káàkiri báyìí. Èmi tẹ̀rù gbẹ́nikẹ́ni tí ó bá wá sí àìlè kó lè mú mi tó ẹni tó kú odò gbogbo àtà ń bẹ láyé lónìí àbẹ Ẹfúnṣetán àmọ́ aláǹfààní pé a bá ìwé ẹni tó mú Ẹfúnṣetán tó sì kọ gbogbo bọ́rọ̀ náà ṣe jẹ́ tọkọ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọ̀rọ̀ sí wá rí nígbà tẹ́ rí sinimá tí wọ́n ṣe nípa Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà yìí bóò ló ṣe rí lọ́kàn yín.
inú mi bàjẹ́ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ inú mi ò dùn kódà mo ń ronú ìgbésẹ̀ tí mo fẹ́ gbé lórí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí inú mi ò dùn rárá torí pé ìbanilórúkọ jẹ́ ni ìbanilórúkọ jẹ́ ńlá ni.
tó ìlà fi ń sọ fún wa gbogbo wa tá a bá ń ṣe sinimá tá à ń ṣeré orí ìtàgé ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣọ́ra o ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣọ́ra ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣọ́ra nípa àwọn ìtàn tá a máa fi ṣe sinimá tá à ní tọ̀ àwọn mọ̀lẹ́bí lọ torí pé sinimá tá ẹ bá ṣe tẹ́ bá fi tàbùkù olóyè kan nìbàdàn ó kan ààrẹ òpìtàn ilẹ̀ ìbàdàn ìdí nù tí bàbá olúbàdàn ilẹ̀ ìbàdàn fi yan olóyè ààrẹ òpìtàn tẹ́nìkan ní bá sì bá wá bá mi pé òun fẹ́ gba ìtàn àbọ̀ òun fẹ́ sọ nípa ìtàn ìdílé kan màá ní ọ̀dà àbá ìbọ̀ pé olóyè àbí mọ́gàjì ilé náà ilẹ̀ mi náà tó taari wọn sí ìyín tó ń dá a ṣe torí pé ààrẹ òpìtàn ni mí ẹnìkan ò sì lè mu omi tó ẹni tó kú odò lè mọ̀ ju ẹni tó jẹ́ oní nǹkan lọ. bàbá wa Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ọdún wo lẹ ti jẹ́ mọ́gàjì ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà gan.
tabaríkà wò ó ti gbé lọ́dún mẹ́ta báyìí tí mo ti jẹ mọ́gàjì.
mọ́gàjì ẹ̀kẹ́lò ni yín nílé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà.
tabaríkà kà èmi mo sì kẹrin báyìí o.
èyí lẹ sì kẹrin mọ́gàjì ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ẹ ṣe gan ni. bàbá ẹ jẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn rí ìfi ojú bàbá wa tó ṣe yí pé tabanímọ̀ ọkọ̀ mi èèyàn nílé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà bàbá ẹ fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀.
láti kún ọ̀rọ̀ tí mo fẹ́ sọ nípa àwọn tó ṣe fíìmù Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ìbànújẹ́ tó jẹ́ fún mi ni pé nǹkan tó bá ti pè ní ìtàn ilẹ̀ Yorùbá bó bá ṣe rí lèèyàn ṣe máa ń ṣe èèyàn kì í fi kún èèyàn kì í sì yọ kúrò nù ẹ̀. àkọ́kọ́ Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ẹ̀yà wa kò sẹ́ni tí ò mọ̀ pé Ẹfúnṣetán kọlà. Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà tá a lè sọ yìí kò ń ṣe
ilẹ̀ ìgbàlíbẹ̀ nínú lẹ́ẹ̀kẹ́ rẹ̀.
kì í sì ṣe ilẹ̀ Ìgbò ni wọ́n ti mú wá.
ok Ìgbò ni ẹjẹ́ tó fi ṣe.
ìbò náà tó fi ń sọ. so wọ́n tẹ̀ fẹ́ translate ẹ̀ torí pé ó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe gẹ́gẹ́ bó ṣe rí ni.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni
kí wọ́n fẹ́ translate ẹ̀ kí wọ́n translate ẹ̀ ní Yorùbá ló yẹ kí wọ́n fi ṣe ẹni tí wọ́n lò fẹ́ Ẹfúnṣetán kò tiẹ̀ kò ń ṣe èèyàn tó jọ Ẹfúnṣetán. ó bà wá lọ́kàn jẹ́ gan-an kò ń ṣe mí nìkan gbogbo òdìlé Ẹfúnṣetán pátápátá ló bà lọ́kàn jẹ́.
gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ sọ mo rò pé ẹ ń bá ṣe tí ẹnìkan ò ṣe rí tójú ẹ̀ bá ṣe ní tí ẹnìkan ò rí rí ká má torí pa a fẹ́ pa owó ká má sì torí wípé a fẹ́ ṣe sinimá ká wá máa fi ìta ṣe ká máa fi ba ìdílé kan jẹ́ ìdílé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ń bẹ o ìdílé tó sì lóókọ ẹni pé bàbá wa yìí gan ẹnjìníà ni wọ́n àwọn ènìyàn ńláńlá ń bẹ nílé Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà tẹ́ wà káàkiri àgbáyé tí ẹ bá mọ ìtàn ẹ béèrè ìtàn á tọ́ yín sọ́nà bẹ́ẹ̀ sì rí ìtàn bẹ́ẹ̀ sì rí ìtàn ẹ jẹ́ ká fi bàbá wa mò ń bọ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ń yọ kínní iná yìí ká wá fi bàbá wa hàn ká tó wá lọ sí ojú orí Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà ọ̀bá ń gbé náà sọ́nà ọ̀dọ̀ bàbá wa mò ń bọ̀ o ìyá ara alẹ́ tẹ̀ ń wẹ̀ mọ́ bínú bàbá wa àtàwọn tó wà nílé bàbá wa ẹ kú ọjọ́ mẹ́ta bàbá wa ẹ bá wa dárúkọ yìí fáwọn èèyàn tán ń wò wá.
Alhaji Yusuf Salami Ẹfúnṣetán.
tó bàbá wa nígbà ọ̀rọ̀ tí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Akínwùmí Ìṣọ̀lá wáyé nígbà náà ìgbésẹ̀ tẹ èwo lẹ gbé àti pé báwo ló ṣe lọ nínú ìwé eré Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà tí wọ́n kọ.
wọn pẹ̀lú mọ́gàjì wa àjọ náà lọ.
ẹ̀yin pẹ̀lú bàbá wa mọ́gàjì ìgbà náà lọ.
àjọ lọ sílé àìsàn pẹpẹ.
òkè táìsò pẹpẹ.
a sì bá yàwó ẹ ìyàwó rẹ ní àwọn ti rẹ́dì wàhálẹ̀ bọ́kàn bá ti tọ́ hospital tó lọ dé àwọn wà rí wa ní kó fi pa ní òfin darí ti hospital lè tó fi kú àfi bí wọ́n ṣe ń wà ń tún gbé gbogbo eré rẹ̀ jáde kí ló dé kí wọ́n láti sá fún wọn ń tàn ní ṣé wọ́n wá bí ni wọn ò wá bí o bí mọ́gàjì wa ò bá tiẹ̀ sí ilé òun ni ayàn ní bàbá wa òun la darí ilé wa òun la gbọ́dọ̀ àlè ṣe nǹkan kan lẹ́yìn rẹ̀ béèyàn bá béèrè ìtàn a sọ pé àfi tí mágàjì bá wà ní. tó bá sọ pé ẹ máa dá wọn lóhùn lọ tá a bá pè lórí fóònù tó bá sọ pé ká dá wọn lóhùn là fi dẹ́lòmíì lóhùn a sì dá ẹnikẹ́ni lóhùn.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe dàgbà tó bàbá wa ẹ tó bu ọ̀wọ̀ fún bàbá wa mọ́gàjì ti tóbi ọlọ́run.
bàbá wa ni.
àwọn ni bàbá wa lónìí nílé Ẹfúnṣetán.
lónìí so ó lè jọmọ tá a bí o ṣùgbọ́n a dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run àwa la màámà tá a sọ pé
ìwọ ni bàbá wa
ìwọ la darí ilé wa wá tún léṣe fún wa la wí ó sì ń ṣe kí ló dé tí wọ́n fi máa gbé eré jáde láì ní kọ́mọ́ àmọ́ àwọn tó gbé jáde o wọn ò sì délé Ẹfúnṣetán wá béèrè nǹkan kan o wọ́n kàn gbé tí wọ́n rí jáde ni ẹ dákun ẹ gbà wá o àfẹ́ tí wọ́n bà Ẹfúnṣetán jẹ́ o ìyá dáadáa ni Ẹfúnṣetán o.
ẹ ṣé gan ni bàbá wa tó mọ́gàjì bàbá wa mo bá ń gbé náà bọ̀ ẹ bá wa dárúkọ yín fáwọn èèyàn tó ń wò wá.
orúkọ mi ni Isiaka Adébúyì Ẹfúnṣetán ọmọ bíbí ilé Ẹfúnṣetán.
bàbá wa mo rò pé ẹ̀yin náà ti gbọ́ awuyewuye tó ń lọ nípa àwọn sinimá tí wọ́n gbé jáde nípa Ẹfúnṣetán léyìí tó ṣe yí pé àwọn bàbá wa mọ́gàjì àti ìwádìí ìjìnlẹ̀ tèmi ṣe àti ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà tá a ti sọ yálà lórí rédíò ní orí Facebook àbí YouTube a rí i pé ó tako ìtàn Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ẹ bá wa yànnàná ọ̀rọ̀.
gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn bàbá wa tẹ́ ẹ ti bi léèrè gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n ti sọ àti mọ́gàjì wa náà tó ti kọ́kọ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ní àkọ́kọ́ fíìmù tí wọ́n ṣe jáde kò tẹ́ ọmọ ilé Ẹfúnṣetán lọ́rùn ìbànújẹ́ ló jẹ́ fún wọn èmi ìtẹ́mi sí ro bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wípé wọ́n ń wá oúnjẹ ọ̀jọ́ tí wọ́n fẹ́ jẹ ni mo ò ṣèwádìí kankan lọ́dọ̀ ọmọ ilé Ẹfúnṣetán kó tó di pé wọ́n gbé fíìmù yẹn jáde fíìmù tí ó tọ̀nà rárá ni gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́mi ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ lónìí nísìn tí a bá pè wọ́n lẹ́jọ́ wípé ìbanilókọjẹ́ èmi ò rò bí àbùkù kankan wà ń bẹ̀. ibùn gan ní àfikún tí mo tún fẹ́ fi kún téèyàn bá dé ọkàn jẹ́ pé láyé ìjọ́sí tí wọ́n ń kọlà ni wọ́n fi ń dára wọn mọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan tó kọlà nílé Ẹfúnṣetán lónìí pélépélé lẹ́ẹ̀bà lójú gbogbo wọn pátá.
ẹ ṣé gan ni bàbá wa mọ́gàjì ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ wo ojú orí ìyálòde Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà tí ń ṣe ìyá ńlá wa nílé Ẹfúnṣetán. bí a ṣe ń lọ yìí ẹ rí i pé ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà òní ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà òní.
ojú orí Ẹfúnṣetán nílé.
fún àwa tí a bá ń wò wá káàkiri tìbútòrò àgbáyé ibi tá a sin ìyálòde Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà sí rèé lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ tó ṣẹlẹ̀ tí ìyálòde Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà kú ibi tá a sin ìyálòde Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ibi tá a sí sí iná ni à ń wò yìí ibi tá a rí pé a sọ fún àńjọ pé inú ilé ni wọ́n máa ń sin àwọn alágbára sí ẹ já wo ìta káfí àwọn ìkáwé.
ibi tí wọ́n òkè àjà tí wọ́n ti tó sùn tí wọ́n ti já àkọlé lórí láyé ìgbà yẹn òun rèé.
There you go.
so kí wọ́n tó di pé a tún ilé náà kọ́ so bí àjà ní ibi tẹ́ gbà wọlé ńjọ́ náà ni gbogbo bí ìgbà náà jẹ́ yàrá ìyálòde Ẹfúnṣetán.
ibi tó ń lò sí lélẹ̀ gbàgede.
torí pé gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìwádìí ilé ńlá ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà mo rò pé
gbogbo ilé rẹ̀ náà
ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà là ń wò tó lọ báyìí so ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà òun náà ni à ń wò yìí gbogbo agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà ni tá a bá sì fẹ́ lọ jáde sí títì ìní tó ṣe yí pé kábàá lè mọ̀ inú agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà náà ni a sì ń tọ̀ lọ yìí. ẹ bọ́ síwájú mọ́gàjì mò ń bọ̀ ẹja kọ́ wo ilé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà náà lẹ̀ ń wò yìí. ẹja lọ agboolé Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà náà ni a wà ẹ kú jókòó bàbá wa sọmọ Ẹfúnṣetán Àníwúrà lẹ́yìn náà ilé ẹfúnṣetán ẹ kú ìjókòó ilé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA náà lẹ́wọ̀n ẹ kú ìjókòó ọmọ ẹfúnṣetán lẹ́yìn náà yá wa. ìyàwó ni yín ẹ̀yin ìyàwó ẹfúnṣetán ìyálóde ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA kí ló kọ yín mọ̀mọ́ wa.
Sílífàtù Dárúpalé ẹfúnṣetán.
ẹ ṣe gan ni mọ̀mọ́ wa ń kọ́.
Hafsatu Isiaka ẹfúnṣetán.
ń kọ́.
Ọlásàdé Wàbí.
ẹ ṣe gan ni bàbá wa ń kọ́.
ṣé àdáwọ̀ ẹfúnṣetán.
ẹfúnṣetán lẹ̀ ní bàbá wa ìyá wa ń kọ́.
Gbogbo wa.
Ọláìtàn ẹfúnṣetán.
láì mọ̀ pa à ń bọ̀ lẹ́yìn àtìbá yín ìtàn yìí ìyá wa. ilé mọ́yẹ̀ okùn adé baálẹ̀ àkọ́kọ́ ilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn ilẹ̀ ń wò yìí ilé mọ́yẹ̀ okùn adé lẹ̀ ń wò yìí ibẹ̀ lẹ̀ ń wò yìí ilé mọ́yẹ̀ okùn adé nì mọ́yẹ̀ lóyè okùn adé baálẹ̀ Ìbàdàn àkọ́kọ́ iná kojú dà iná ẹlẹ́kojú ilẹ̀ ń wò yìí tó pé jagunjagun Sẹ́ríkì Ìbò Olúyọ̀lé táwọn ọmọ rẹ̀ wá di ìran tí ń jẹ àáfàá ní ilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn ilé ẹlẹ́kojú kábàá lè mọ̀ yí pé ìdílé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA ń bẹ o bàbá wa ẹ sáwájú ẹ léwájú ilé ẹfúnṣetán náà ló tún débì irú ìdílé ńlá báyìí ilé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA náà lọ báyìí ìlà máa fi sọ fẹ́yìn èèyàn yìí pé ká ṣọ́ra o ìdílé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA ẹ̀yin náà wá dúró òrùlé ilé ibolélé ilé àwọn agboolé Ajímọ̀bí agboolé ibi tá a ti bí gómìnà wa ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ̀yin àtàjímọ̀bí lẹ́jọ́ pààlà ẹ sì kọjú sí mọ́yẹ̀ àti iná kojú ẹfúnṣetán náà ń gbogbo bíi báyìí ẹfúnṣetán ló lọ báyìí. Níbàdàn kò sí tá à ń ná ní Níbàdàn bí kò ṣe agboolé la fi mọ ilé Níbàdàn ilé ẹfúnṣetán náà tó ní pẹ̀lú bí kọ́tà ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA náà tó ní tí tóbi Ọlọ́run bàbá wa Mọ́gàjí.
ìyá wa ẹ ǹlẹ́ mà ẹ pẹ̀lẹ́ ẹkújọ́ mẹ́ta alájà ẹ rọ mà ẹ pẹ̀lẹ́ ẹkújọ́ mẹ́ta àlàáfíà ni bàbá lèrè ẹni tó ń bílé bàbá Mọ́gàjí lélẹ̀.
bàbá wa ẹ ní bínú ni bàbá wa à ń ṣe àfihàn ilé ìyálóde ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA bàbá wa òru
kòkó wọn láyé ìgbà wọn náà.
kòkó bá fílẹ̀ ẹ̀ máa wulẹ̀ tán.
ẹ ti rí kòkó ẹ fún wọn tó máa ń lò láyé ìgbà wọn.
ni wọ́n wá tún rẹ́.
òun ni wọ́n tún rẹ́ yìí.
bàbá wa tá a bá wò ó bí mo tí mò ń wo òrùlé tí ń bẹ nílé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA ó lé láàdọ́ta o.
ẹbí bẹ́ẹ̀rì bàbá Mọ́gàjí lélẹ̀ bàbá tó bí èmi gangan.
bàbá tó bí yín gangan.
bàbá tó bí mi bẹ́ẹ̀rì rẹ̀ rí.
agboolé lẹ sin wọ́n sí.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni agboolé la sí wọn sí.
bàbá wa tá a bá wò ó òrùlé tí ń bẹ nílé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA yìí
gbogbo ilé ẹfúnṣetán ni.
ó lé láàdọ́ta o.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
wọ́n máa ń sọ pé ìjọ́ tí bàbá wa sọ fún mi lọ́bí ọdún mẹ́rin sẹ́yìn pé agboolé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA tóbi gan òní ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA ìní pé ká tọpinpin nǹkan o ẹ wo agboolé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA agboolé mi ìgan òrùlé bíi 4, 5, 10 ìní eléyìí pọ̀ ó bù àyà. sẹ́ẹ̀fù alẹ́ jalè ẹfúnṣetán báyìí ibi tẹ́yìn sí gbogbo àwọn àgbà tó bá gbéṣẹ̀ sí ní nílé ẹfúnṣetán ANIWURA.
gbogbo gbogbo tó máa ń lò sí náà ní gbogbo ibi tó máa ń káwọn ẹrú ẹ̀ sílẹ̀ kankan.
history ni gbogbo yín ń wò yìí wọ́n bá ń sọ ìtàn wọ́n bá ń parọ́ tó ń pàlọ́ this is real this is life.
a lọ àbọ̀ lẹ́yìn tá a ti lọ ṣe àfihàn ilé ẹfúnṣetán aníwúrà tí ajẹ́kàwé èèyàn mọ bílẹ̀ náà ṣe rí ipe ilé ọlá ilé ẹ̀yẹ ilé iyì ilé ògo ni mo rò pé bàbá wa kan tó di pé a mọ ta àtàrẹ
oko rẹ̀ sì ń bẹ ní Ìkìjà tí gbogbo èèyàn mọ̀.
Ìkìjà ló kó ẹfúnṣetán aníwúrà wà. Kí ni ìmọ̀ràn yín fún gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ìdílé ẹfúnṣetán aníwúrà tí wọ́n wò wá jákèjádò àgbáyé?
tó ìmọ̀ràn mi fún gbogbo ọmọ ilé ẹfúnṣetán tó wà ní ẹ̀yìn odi òun náà ni pé kí wọ́n wá kájọ pọwọ́pọ̀ kájọ gbé ilé ẹfúnṣetán ní lárugẹ kájọ mọ bá ṣe fẹ́ ṣe torí gbogbo àwọn bó ṣe ń borúkọ wa jẹ́ yìí ò dáa kí gbogbo wọn jáde wá kájọ pọwọ́pọ̀ kájọ gbé lárugẹ.
Títí ìgbà tá a tún máa pàdé lórí ètò yín ètò wa ìtàn Yorùbá èmi ọmọ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín olólùfẹ́ yín ààrẹ òpìtàn ilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn olóyè Laji Abbas pẹ̀lú ọmọ mi Adénìkẹ́ Akínwálé Òwéréke ìlàjọ wà ń bí ojú tó lé ọ̀bá mi wá lónìí ìbí a máa sọ wípé ejò kò ní rọ́ọ̀lù wèrè pé láyè kó dúró ire o.
Now story bí wọ́n ṣe fi ọ̀rọ̀ wá àwọn ọmọ àti àwọn ẹbí àtàrà ìyálóde ẹfúnṣetán aníwúrà lẹ́nu wò nìyẹn wọ́n ṣó agboolé èmi àti ẹ̀yin ẹ wo agboolé ńláńlá tá a rí yẹn nínú ìlú Ìbàdàn but tá a bá ní parọ́ tanra wa jẹ gẹ́gẹ́ bí fọ́nrán sinimá tí wọ́n ṣe tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa tá a wò kò sí ẹnikẹ́ni tó nígbàgbọ́ nínú wa pé ìyálóde ẹfúnṣetán aníwúrà pé ó tiẹ̀ ní nǹkan kan tó kù sáyé mọ́ torí gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìtàn tán kọ lélẹ̀ tán sọ pé bàbá wa Akínwùmí Ìṣọ̀lá náà wọ́n tọrọ apology fún story yẹn nítorí pé kò right kò correct kò sẹ́ni tí ò lè ṣe mistake then olóògbé Dr. Aisho Pepe wọ́n ní àwọn family wọn náà àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèré wọn pé wọ́n padà ṣe kí ni wọ́n apologize and they had an intention to come back and reproduce another one that will now be the real story but unfortunately ó ti rẹ bàbá yẹn gbà yẹn bàbá yẹn dolóògbé which means up till now if there's any story out there any movie about ìyálóde ẹfúnṣetán aníwúrà out there it's still that old one that is not right it's still that old one that is filled with falsehood not the right portrayal of this hero this great hero because you see when we talk about people like Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà I know if you are here if you are listening to me or you are watching me right now and you have watched that movie the female king is on Netflix. The Female King is a story about the Dahomey people, the great female warriors of the Dahomey kingdom. How fierce, how fearless, and how great they were, their achievements. How the story was told of how they conquered the Oyo Empire. If you have watched that movie on Netflix, please write it here, let's see. So you see how they portray those women. You see how they show their bravery. That is how this great woman, Ìyálóde Ẹfúnṣetán Aníwúrà story should be told. Because she's not that picture that was painted as one wicked soul that doesn't, like or love anything good. But I'm surprised, up to date, up till now. Actually, this is a challenge. Ẹ ṣé bàbá mi, àbí ìyá mi ni, Adébọ́lá Àdùnní, ẹ ṣé. Fíìmù tẹ́ wo yẹn, the female king, The Woman King. Yes, I love that movie a lot. I've watched it over and over and over again because I love such stories. When I hear or I read about great people, especially when they are women, I love it. There is another story like that I've read about how they protected the golden stool of the Ashanti people when the white people came and they want to take it away. Because the white people knew there is something to do with that golden stool and those people. And you know, up to date, they were not able to achieve that, because rather than give the stool to them, even when the male king, their king as at that time, when he gave himself up to the Europeans, the female warriors of the Ashanti kingdom, they took that golden stool into the jungle. They went and hid it where nobody could find it. So when things got worse, you know what they said they did? They went and made a duplicate, not the original. They went and made a duplicate. See, what is that pointing to? That is also bringing you back and still telling you the same thing, that when people come to you and they want to render you useless, they know that you have some things that are unique to you, and they know they need to take those things away from you. They know they need to take it away from you. And once they take it away, so that you will not remember it, so that you will not be able to regain your consciousness, they have to replace it with something that looks like it, but is not real. I don't know how long we have to say this before people understand and realize this. We're not making up any story. We're not trying to brainwash you. We're just telling you the truth. We're telling you facts. Because we need each other. We all need each other. I can't do this by myself, and nobody can do it by themselves. We all need each other. That is why it is important that we do things such as this. We need to retrain ourselves. We need to retrain our brain. We need to, refresh. We need to refresh our brains. We need to remind ourselves that we have been told lies. And until we come back to reality, forget about all these our so-called Baba kings that are misbehaving. Ẹ̀yin bàbá wa, ẹ má bínú, kò sọ́nà míì tí mo lè gbà dá pé. That is the truth. Forget about gbogbo wa táwọn bàbá yẹn ń wù. Let's not look at them. Because whatever they are doing for themselves, and they are doing for their immediate family right now. They are not thinking about you and I. But guess what? Who is going to suffer for it when they are long gone? After they might have lived 120 years, because I'm not praying that they should die young. After they might have lived 120 years and they are gone, all these mistakes, all these atrocities that they are committing now, it is you and I that will have to face it. Just as we and some of them are facing the troubles and the atrocities that those of yesteryears caused, right? But they are not realizing that. They are seeing you and I as enemies now, as children that don't want to respect elders, as people that don't want to listen. But they are the ones that are not listening to us. Ajá sẹ́yìn, wọ́n lòun ló mehoro sẹ́yìn tọ̀. We may not know much, but we understand this terrain. We understand this new age. We also need your wisdom, but you need to listen to us too. We need to work together. So when you are doing certain things and we are calling your attention to it, it's not because we want to be rude. It's not because we don't respect you. It's because We have seen some things. We have seen the troubles that this will bring in future. If you are bringing a Fulani man into Yoruba land and you are giving them all this heavy chieftaincy title, and we already have an issue on ground where Fulani people are telling us they are Fulani Yorubas, and we do not have any say, that they have more say than us. And then the next thing we see, you bring in them, even the ones that are not even, that don't even have anything to do with us. You're bringing them, you're giving them all these big chieftaincy titles. Ọmọ tó bá máa jogún kógún ìtànkítàn ló máa pa. Ẹ jẹ́ kémi àtẹ̀yin mi mọ̀, some of us here, maybe we will better understand me. If we come from one of those towns or villages where they are having issues right now because of some of the good deeds that their forefathers, their ancestors did. Just like nínú tan àwọn bàbá wa ń dé nínú ti Olúwa nílẹ̀. Nígbà tán fẹ́ jogún kógún tí wọ́n ń pàtàn kítàn tán ní bàbá kan, bàbá eléjì ogbè, ó wá kábíyèsí kan lọ́dún kan, ó wá tulẹ̀ fún bàbá eléjì ogbè. You see, ó tulẹ̀ fún bàbá eléjì ogbè. Bàbá eléjì ogbè was not originally from there. But because that king has at that time so much love, that, and you know, this Babeleji Ogbe that they were talking about in that story was a lie. It was made up by one of the chiefs because he wants to collect money from those people. He now came up with that story. And see, as somebody that should be a custodian of the history of that land as a chief, he came up with a story because he has been promised money. He lied to the new generation king that they just had and said there was a certain Babeleji Ogbe that one king has at one time already allocated Ile Orisha to. In the end, in the law court, the king cannot do anything. The king lost the case, right? But justice was done at the end because the ancestors, the owners of the land stood up for themselves and fought for themselves. But that was just a play. That was a story. But see, in reality, the same thing is happening to us today. A lot of communities, towns and villages, they are facing problems right now. They are facing each other. They are fighting each other because some of the people, strangers, aware, that came to their land then, and their ancestors, their forefathers, they gave them some portion of land. Like maybe they never promised them it was a gift to keep forever, but maybe it was like, I'm leasing it to you. You can stay there for now. But today, these communities, they are now big. Most of their children are educated. They are facing their landlords now and telling them, no, we were the one that were here first. Àtètè mólè nísìn, ó lè ti mú olóko láàrin ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ gan. Tó di pé ẹni tí wọ́n ṣe láàánú ńjọ́ kínní àná tán tulẹ̀ fún is turning around and telling the rightful owners of the land pé àwa la tulẹ̀ fún yín, ẹ̀yin lẹ máa kó ń bẹ̀. Yes, we have such situations all over our communities, all over our towns and villages that can never be resolved. Ìyẹn láàrin ara wa, Yorùbá ara wa, tá tún fojú jọra wa nìyẹn. Ẹ tún wá fẹ́ mú ti Fúlàní kún, ìyẹn máa lágbára. Ìyẹn ò ní dẹrùn. Ọmọ tó bá máa jogún kógún, ìtànkítàn ló máa kọ́kọ́ pa. This is why we have to be very, very careful. This is why we need to be very, very careful. And then in the olden days, our forefathers, our ancestors, they don't care. When they see these Fulani people come and they just camp themselves in one area on the way to the farm. Our fathers don't say nothing because they feel like they're just there. They are not going to be an issue. But you and I know today that in any community where you see them and they are newly coming in, trying to form such, you need to go there and tell them to pack their bags and baggages and leave. Otherwise, you are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. because it means they are just coming camping there so that later they can turn around and fight you for the land. The ones that have been there for several years that we thought they are friends, they are the ones now that are holding you and I to ransom. They are the ones holding us at our jugular, saying we should not breathe, we should not say anything. And that is why, ẹ̀yin bàbá wa, you the kings, baales, you know, Magaji and all of you, this is why you need to tread softly. You need to be careful. We're not saying you should not welcome strangers. We're not saying you should not entertain them. We're not saying you should not have friends. But please, please, don't make friends that will bring trouble to the land in future when you are far gone. Don't give gifts that will bring trouble to the land in future when you are far gone. Please, think about the rest of us, not just about yourself or whatever you stand to gain now. And don't be afraid of anybody. If anybody is in power and they are the one commanding you to do these things, you know these things are wrong and they are going to bring trouble in future. Say it out, say it loud, let all of us hear it, and let's face that common enemy together. Because just one individual, an individual or a certain group of people cannot be better off than all of us if we all speak with one voice. But the only way to come up and speak with one voice is if you people come out and, you know, you open up, you tell us the truth. Maybe there's something going on. Perhaps there are some things we don't know that you need to tell us. Tell us. Maybe you've been cornered. Maybe you've done certain things and they're bringing it to you that, okay, in order for us not to expose you, you need to do this. This is the time to own up. Bàbá lè ṣe nǹkan tí ò dáa. Tó bá di pọ́tà fẹ́ mọ gbabẹ̀ wọlé mọ fi ọgbọ́n máa mú bàbá máa sọ tí ò dáa fọ́mọ àbí láti máa mú ọjọ́ ọ̀la ọmọ kó máa tà fún àjèjì. Bàbá torí ẹ̀ bá pé àpọ̀mọ ẹ̀ ni á jẹ́wọ́ fún pé ọmọ mi, mo tọwọ́ bọ sọ̀lọ̀ ohun tí mo ṣe rèé o, ohun tó ní í ṣe rèé o. Ó ṣeé ṣe Elédùmarè lè ti ró ọmọ yẹn lágbára kó jẹ́ ọ̀nà àbáyọ. Àmọ́ gbà tí ò bá mọ ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ nígbà tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá sọ fún un, báwo ló ṣe fẹ́ mọ àmọ̀ràn tó máa gbà yín? Àbí báwo ló ṣe fẹ́ mọ bí ó ṣe sọ fún yín pé ọ̀nà àbáyọ sí wàhálà àtohun tó wà ńlẹ̀ lélẹ́yìí? Àwa ò gbọ́n o, a mọ nǹkan kan o, ọmọdé la jẹ́ lábẹ́ yín o, ẹ̀bẹ̀ là ń bẹ̀ yín. Àmọ́ ń kọ wá lóminú, ó ń bà wá lẹ́rù bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe dákẹ́ tẹ́ ń jẹ́ kí wọ́n ba gbogbo àṣà ìṣe àti ìtàn wa jẹ́ tẹ́ ẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀. Ó ń dùn wá nítorí gbogbo kinní ó ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú ọjọ́ iwájú wa, ó dẹ̀ ní í ṣe pẹ̀lú wa. Nígbà tí àwọn kan bá lè máa protect titi tiwọn pé kó má bàjẹ́, tó wá dàbí pé àwa fúnra wa gan la wá mú ti tọ̀dọ̀ tiwa, à ń tàńpá, à ń dànù, à ń sọ pé kò dáa, kò nítumọ̀. Bónígbá bá ṣe pé gbá ẹ̀ ni wọ́n bá pè é. Nígbà tó yẹ pé ẹ̀yin bàbá wa tá à ń dọ̀bálẹ̀, tá à ń rábàbà fún, tá à ń pè lólórí, tá à ń pè lábẹnugan, agbẹnusọ wa, tẹ́yin gangan tẹ́ dẹ̀ ń fúnra yín tẹ́ ń kọ̀ǹdẹ́ẹ̀mù gbogbo nǹkan tí àwọn baba ńlá baba yín tí wọ́n ṣe kalẹ̀. Ohun tán ṣe fi ṣe ìpìlẹ̀, tán fi pètò gbogbo ibi tí oníkálukú yín tẹ́ jọba lé, tẹ́ jẹ gàba lé, tẹ́ wá ń fúnra yín, tẹ́ wá ń bà á jẹ́, tẹ́ wá ń tàbùkù ẹ̀, tẹ́ ní kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́. Ẹ rí i pé wàhálà wà. Ẹ rí i pé wàhálà wà. Ṣé wọ́n lè pè mí nísìnyí pé kí n máa bọ̀ ní Britain kí n wá jẹ oyè, kí n wá débẹ̀ kí n wá sọ fún wọn pé mo fẹ́ kán bẹ́ ajá sóògùn fún mi ni? Wọn ò ní gbà. Ṣé wọn ò ní sọ fún mi pé ṣé orí ló ń dùn mí àbọ́rùn? If I'm being knighted, if I'm being made a knight in Britain, I'm going to go there if I want to accept it, and it will be based on their customs and traditions. They will bring out the sword and knight me, you know, the way they do it. I'm not going to go there and say, ẹ jáwé àkókò sí mi lórí, ẹ ṣe kinní kan, because it's going to be their culture, it's going to be their way, not my way. not my way. So the only option I have is to tell them, no, I don't want it, or not to take it, not to show up. But for whatever reason, if I take it, if I show up, then I need to abide by their customs and traditions. But àti rí nísìnyí, ẹ ti ń change the custom àti tradition tiwa. Very soon now. Very soon. Mo dẹ̀ ń wo gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń pera yín ní afọbajẹ náà àti gbogbo ẹ̀. You are watching all these things. You are not doing nothing. You are not speaking up. Very soon, you are all going to be relegated to the backstage. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, àwọn tán dẹ̀ fẹ́ gbapò yín, ẹ̀hún pé jẹ wọn níbi tán ti ń jẹ, ó ti ń tán nísìnyí. Gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tán ń pa fáwọn èèyàn táwọn èèyàn fi ń sọ owó sínú gbá tán fi ń kówó lọ fún wọn. Àwọn èèyàn ti lajú, everybody ti ń gbọ́n. But they are now seeing another area, another means, ibi tí wọ́n tún ti mọ̀ jẹ. I won't be surprised anytime soon. Tó bá jẹ́ pé àwọn ní òun ọ̀sẹ̀ tí ó jọba, àwọn ní ó di àfọ̀bàjẹ́, a bá tún di ọ̀nà jẹ fún wọn. Ló bá tán. Kátìkàtì la ní kò wọ́n jó tẹ́lẹ̀, èwo tún nì, ìmí ló tún fẹ́ dé. Ló bá tán. Ó ẹ jọ̀ọ́, àṣàgídì, àjà, àyájú sí yín, ẹ̀bẹ̀ là ń bẹ̀ wípé ẹ ti ẹ̀ rántí ọjọ́ ọ̀la tiwa. Ẹ rántí ọjọ́ ọ̀la àwọn ọmọ wa. Ẹ má jẹ́ kí ìran Yorùbá di ohun ìtàn. Irú ìtàn Ìyálóde Ìbàdàn, Ìyálóde Ẹ̀fúnṣetán. And I'm going to call out some names. Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Fẹ́mi Adébáyọ̀, you did jagunjagun, everybody love it. This is a classic movie. If you can come up and talk to this family, go to the people that knows the truth, get all the right information and come up with a classic on Ìyálóde Ẹ̀fúnṣetán ANIWURA. Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Kúnlé Afọláyan, any of you guys, Kúnlé Afọ́d, where are you guys? Bàbá wa Túndé Kèlání, Uncle TK, please, you people need to come around. But even apart from you portraying our history, I know there is money to be made in all these things if done right. If Jagun can make money at the movies, and right now it's on Netflix and people are watching it. I have African American friends that are watching Jagun every day, repeating it and telling me they love that movie. After I explain certain things to them in there. I promise you, if people are watching The Woman King, they will watch a classic about Ìyálóde Ẹ̀fúnṣetán ANIWURA, if done right. Apart from that, we have many more. We have that of our Baba Ogedengbe Agbogboro of Ijesha land that needs to be retold and be made a classic. We need to show this to the whole world. We need to portray it. And I know the Europeans, the African Americans, the Americans, they would love to see it because this is something they already heard about. This is something they already seen a replica, that there are people try to make a replica, as in the horseman of Sleepy Hollow. But for them to see the real thing, the real story, from the main source, from the sons of the soil and the daughters of the land, presented the right way, you will make money from it. Apart from making money, it's going to be a classic. And we are going to be selling our story to the world. But if we leave it for foreigners to tell our story, we will not like it. They will not tell our story the right way. Now, while I was watching the Woman King, remember that story is all based about what supposedly happened in the past between Dahomey, and the Oyo Kingdom, the Oyo Empire warriors. Now, was that the whole truth, or the Oyo warriors were portrayed the wrong way, guess who is winning? Guess who that story favor right now? It favored the Dahomey people because the main story focused on the female, the woman king and the female warriors, not on the Oyo Empire warriors, but rather. And why? Why is that? Because they are the one telling the story. Whoever, wrote that story, whoever made that movie was concentrating on the woman king, not on the Oyo warriors. So now think about it. If that story was about the Oyo Empire and we are the one telling that stories and we find the truth and we are presenting that story, maybe the story went a different way. That would be the best way to tell our story, not leaving our story out there for foreigners to tell our stories for us, because it will not favor us and we will not love it at the end of the day. Bí ọ̀rọ̀ bàbá wa kan ni, ó ní ta ló máa bá wa sọ̀tàn wa, ta ló máa bá wa kọ ìtàn wa. Ẹ ń wò mí pé níbo ni Dr. Michael Látún ti gbọ́ yẹn, ẹ ti gbàgbé, ó lè kú. Ẹ padà, that's another classic. You see, stories like Oleku, stories, they portray our culture. They portray us, who we were, where we were coming from. I love stories like that. I love movies like that. Actually, those are my classics. Àbí, inú ń bẹ náà ti ń ṣe ẹ̀yẹ wọn ní Yorùbá sọ pé ó sín. Òyìnbó sọ pé he sneeze. Sneeze, sín. Wọ́n ní ṣé kò jọra wọn. Bàbá wa yẹn ń ṣàkàwé. Ó lóyìnbó kàn ń parọ́ fún wa ni pé inú Yorùbá náà ti mú òyìnbó jáde. Sín, sneeze. Àbí? And so many other ones tán fi ṣàkàwé ara wọn. Inú ẹ̀ náà ti ń bi wá pé ó dáa gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Yorùbá tó bá gbọ́rọ̀ tán bá sọ pé Málà Olú, kí ni ìtumọ̀ ẹ̀? Kí ló máa wá sọ́kàn ẹ̀? Kí ni wọ́n ń sọ? Wọ́n ní wọ́n sọ pé kó o mú Gàmbàrí kọ́ ni wọ́n ń sọ, kò ń ṣe Mọ́là ni wọ́n ń sọ. Because ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa lóde òní tá bá máa dáhùn, Mọ́là ni wọ́n ń sọ. No. Wọ́n ṣàlàyé ẹ̀ fún wa bẹ́ẹ̀ pé no, ohun tó ń sọ ni pé mú aṣọ funfun, a white garment, mú fún Olú. Who is Olú? Who is Olú? Olódùmarè. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bàbá mi, immunity. Òyìnbó, which makes sense. Wípé ṣé kìí ṣe pé òyìnbó tiẹ̀ gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ míì lẹ́nu wa and they just went and coined up a word and made it the meaning of that word. Because when you think about it, nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, ohun tí ò lè múyàn, ohun tó múyàn tì, immunity, right? But the white people came and said immunity. Something that protects you so that something will not affect you, right? You see, àwa la nígbàgbọ́ nú ara wa, àkàndá ni wá, Ọlọ́run dá wa pé ó dẹ̀ fi gbogbo ohun tá a nílò jíǹkí wa. Ṣé wá rí òyìnbó ti ṣọ́ wa ti pẹ́, wọ́n ti study wa, wọ́n ti learn a lot of things about us. Wọ́n wá lọ túra mú wá fún wa. Wọ́n wá gbé wa ń gbogbo. Wọ́n gba wúrà lọ́wọ́ wa, wọ́n gbé pàǹdà wa. Honestly speaking, I know a lot of us will find it difficult to believe. But when you sit down, calm yourself down, ponder about all these things and reflect. Go and read your history, read your story. Find that book if you have the means. Go online, Google it. Maybe you can see some extracts to read here and there. The history of the Yorubas, Reverend Samuel Johnson. Or ẹ kàn sí ààrẹ Laji Abbas, wọ́n máa ń ní PDF ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ìwé yẹn. Tẹ́ bá kàn sí wọn tó bá ní time, wọ́n máa send ẹ̀ sí yín. And then take your time. Start reading it. It may take you a long time because that book is voluminous. Ó kún gan. Ó kún gan. Tí ó bá ṣe pé ó capture interest mi ni, ìwọ̀nba tí mo kà ń bẹ̀ gan mi gan ò pé mi ní kà. Tí bá wo bí ìwé yẹn ṣe rí nígbà tí mo rí. But torí pé ó capture interest mi. Okay, wọ́n ní the PDF is online. Bàbá mi èwo tún lẹ tún kọ yìí o. Technology. No, honestly speaking, you know, òyìnbó wọ́n gbọ́ ń pa ìtàn Ṣàngó, wọ́n gbọ́ story Ṣàngó. Òyìnbó made a movie about Ṣàngó technically, but most of you don't realize pé Ṣàngó ni wọ́n ń copy. That movie called Thor, title ẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Thor yẹn, Ṣàngó ni wọ́n ń copy ńbẹ̀. Go and see that movie. Go and see that movie called Thor. Ẹ rí, ẹ wo kíní, ẹ wo the main actor ńbẹ̀. Ẹ rí pé even lára agbára tán fún, ó mú ọṣẹ kíní yẹn bí ọṣẹ Ṣàngó, ó wà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Òun ló máa ń mú tó jẹ́ pé tó bá ti nà báyìí, á máa sán sí. It's because they had something somewhere and somebody proved it to them. No, this thing actually happened. And they come up with all these things. Àwọn ọmọ wa máa wò, àwọn ọmọ wa máa jókòó wọn máa wò, nílé wọn bẹ̀ ní sọ̀rọ̀. But when it comes to our history, tó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú wa gangan, tó máa ṣe wá láǹfààní, we will start telling them, irọ́ ni o, ẹ dìde ń bẹ̀ o, ẹ ṣe kinní kan o, ẹ má gbàgbọ́ o, ẹ má. No, you see, lójú ayé bí náà ni, lójú gbogbo wa. Ní idiot kan dìde ló ń parọ́ mọ́ Ṣàngó, ó láláàfin Ṣàngó pé báyẹ̀ ẹ̀sùn, ìyá ẹ̀ bímọ fún lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́ta àbẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́rin ló sọ ni. Meanwhile, according to àwọn tó mọ̀tàn dáadáa, ńgbà tán máa sọ fún wa sí, wọ́n tẹ̀ ní Aláàfin Ṣàngó gan kò dàgbà gbọ́njúmọ̀ ìyá ẹ̀. Tó báwo lọmọ kékeré tí ò gbọ́njúmọ̀ ìyá ẹ̀ ló ṣe mọ báyà ẹ̀sùn tí ìyá ọmọ bímọ fún lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́ta àbẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́rin. Ẹni tó dẹ̀ ń sọ kinní yẹn, òun fi ń tú ẹ̀sìn títí ẹ̀ ṣe ni o, ó ń ba Ṣàngó jẹ́. Ìyẹn ni ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ máa gbọ́ tán máa gbé sí pé àwọn kan wá ń sìn, wọ́n ń pè é ní kinní kan, èèyàn tó ṣe gbá tó ṣá. Meanwhile, tó bá dẹ̀ lọ túnú ọ̀dọ̀ títí wọn, wàá bá a lot of atrocities, but wọ́n ò ní jẹ́ kó o tú. Wọ́n ò ní jẹ́ kó o tú. Ṣé èmi ni màá wá jáde tí màá máa try àti convince ẹ pé kó lọ ṣe research, kó study and find out what actually took place, what actually happened. Èmi ni màá máa bẹ̀ pé go and find out the reason why they don't want you to remember all these things. Torí pé wọ́n fẹ́ pa ẹ́ lára, wọ́n dẹ̀ fẹ́ kí nǹkan kan wà tó máa jẹ́ nǹkan tán lè fi ká wọn lọ́wọ́ kò pé yá ẹ wá búra pẹ̀lú kinní pé tẹ́ bá máa ṣaburú. Wọ́n sì ti mọ̀ pé yẹn máa dáhùn lójú ẹsẹ̀, iná ni, àrá ni. So they don't want you to talk about that. But lọ gbé kinní wa, eléyìí ni kò jẹ́ ká lò, eléyìí tán ti mọ̀ pé kò ní ṣe nǹkan kan fáwọn. Eléyìí tán ti mọ̀ pé kò ní ṣe nǹkan kan fáwọn. So, but it is hard for anybody to convince anybody wípé báyìí ni báyìí. No, oníkálùkù ló yẹ kó mọ ipa tiẹ̀, róòlù tiẹ̀. Àníṣe ẹni tó bá lóun ò máa burú tí gbogbo bọ́n ṣe ń lọ ń fẹ́ àwọn ọmọ Fúlàní tó ń fẹ́ wọn sínú ààfin ilẹ̀ Yorùbá lénìí, bọ́n ṣe lọ ń kó àwọn Fúlàní wa tí wọ́n sọ pé ń fún wọn lóyè, wọ́n ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. Ìwọ tó bá lóun mọ ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀, àbó ò níran ohun tó lè ṣẹlẹ̀ ńjọ́ iwájú, ẹni láabi ni ẹ́, ó ṣèyàn gidi, ó ò dẹ̀ fẹ́ràn ilẹ̀ Yorùbá torí pé kí ni, ó fẹ́ sọ òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀, ó ń dáwọ́ bo òótọ́ lójú. Torí gbogbo ẹni tí ó bá sọ òótọ́, tí ó bá ṣe ẹni láabi, ó ti mọ nǹkan tó máa ṣẹlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú gbogbo ohun tó ń ṣe yìí. Ó dẹ̀ yẹ kó o ti mọ̀ pé ara pláànì ni, Ara planning to make sure pé Yorùbá ò ní bọ́ lọ́wọ́ wọn láéláé ni. It is part of the plan. And some people are getting paid for it. And those people don't mind. Àwọn èèyàn ò kọ̀ kóòrùn, àmì kí kókùnkùn sú láyé láǹsìn, àwọn ò kọ̀ mọ́ tówó bá ṣàtidọ́wọ́ tiwọn. Believing pé you and I will bear the consequences. Ṣé mi àti ẹ ṣá máa wá dákẹ́ àní sọ̀rọ̀ ni? A máa dákẹ́. And then it is high time. Gbogbo nǹkan tó jẹ́ story wa, tó jẹ́ history wa, tí wọ́n ti bàjẹ́. Àtèyí tọ́lọ́run ò tíì ní pé kán ranjú sí kí wọ́n lọ fọwọ́ kàn. It is high time ká fúnra wa bọ́ síta ká sọ story wa fúnra ra wa. Because I promise you, tí àwọn èèyàn wa ò bá dìde sí tí wọ́n bá ṣe, irú èmi sìn, I'm not a movie maker, I'm not a producer. But I know people that produce and make movies that will be very glad and happy right here. Tí wọ́n ń ṣe ọmọ Yorùbá, put money into it and do such movies. But why? Tí máa gbé nǹkan ara lé àbí nǹkan tó yẹ kí àwa ara wa ká ṣe, tá máa lọ gbé fáràtà àbí tá máa dó pé káràtà wá ṣe. Why? If Femi Adebayo can come up with a movie like Jagun, Agesinkole, and he made money on it, and he told a story which is still trending right now, they need to know and understand that they can make something out of the story of Iyalode EFUNSETAN ANIWURA. They can make something out of the story of Babawa Ogedengbe Agbogungboro of Ijeshaland. Apart from all the old stories, all the old movies we have seen about Kurunmi, Kurunmi of Ijaye, Fabunmi Okemesi, Baba Jagunjagun Ogunmola of Ibadan land, even Ààrẹ Latosa, Abiloju of Ekiti land, all these great warriors that have great stories. The world is waiting to hear about all these people and about what they did, because these people, they did a lot. Most of the Europeans already knew about the story of Baba, the Baba from Ijeshaland, Ogedengbe. Because I remember they said then in those days, they were paying money to come on a vacation to see that man that went to war, whose head was cut off, and he did what? He put the head back and continued fighting the war. Èmi kọ́ ni mo sọ. If Reverend Samuel Johnson could be confirming such stories, and somebody wants to turn around today and tell you it's a lie, and you want to believe them, ask them, were they there? Then now ask them the storybook and everything they are reading for you from a foreign land, and they believe in it, and they were not there. Would they allow you to question them on that? It's high time. It's high time. We live in a different age that nobody can cage anybody or come up with a narrative and tell me that I shouldn't ask questions. Then you want to question the story of my ancestors and say I cannot defend it. If I have evidence, I'm ready to defend the story of my ancestors. And I'm willing and ready to question you on whatever you are holding or whatever story you are telling me. Because some things are not adding up, and we are seeing it. It's hidden in plain sight. Afẹ́fẹ́ ti fẹ́ àti rí fúra adìyẹ, gbogbo àṣírí yẹn ti ń tú síta àti ń rí. Who was Moses? Who was Abraham? What did they do? How did they get the powers they used? Let's start asking questions and start discussing this. And then let's bring it down to how relevant were these things to what your ancestors were doing. Right? And then can they show us evidence of everything that most of these things are claiming? Just as they're asking us to produce evidence for what our ancestors did too. Let's ask them to produce evidence. Because some of this stuff cannot be verified. But see, they sold us a story, we bought it, and we ran with it. You and I, we were born into it, we were brainwashed right from back. But thank God, like I told you, I had my own turning point when I realized, like, okay, I've been fed a lot of lies, and I'm looking like a fool right now. Because everything I just wrote, everything I just said, I cannot defend a simple question. And the person that actually asked me that question was a referent. That lecturer of mine, he was a referent. And I believe it happened for a purpose. There's a reason why it happened. Because I can't even believe that he was the one that asked such a question from me. And that's why nowadays, when I see people that are embittered towards their culture, embittered toward their people, I can easily identify them. I know them when I see them. Because at one time or the other, I had such attributes in me too. So when I see you speaking, asking questions or acting some way, I already know you. I can identify because I can relate with what you are doing. That, like, in my days too, that sounds like something I would do. Kò rú mi lójú. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bàbá mi o. Wọ́n fi búrẹ́dì ńlá kó. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni gbogbo omi ọbẹ̀ wa ni wọ́n kó lọ pátápátá. Gbogbo omi ọbẹ̀ wa ni wọ́n kó jẹ. But it is high time, honestly speaking, because ṣẹ́rí eléyìí tí mo ṣe lénìí ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ni. Because lágbára Ọlọ́run láṣẹ Èdùmàrè, a máa wá àwọn kéékèèké kọ̀ọ̀kan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. A máa mú wá, a máa fi bá ara wa sọ̀rọ̀, a máa fi dára wa lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Because I've come to realize pé if we don't untangle everything that has been tangled, a kàn máa pariwo, a máa ṣe wàhálà ni. These people will still not understand. Hey, imagine when some of us were trying to tell them, pé, don't let them play religion with you. Don't believe they are doing this for religion's sake, to punish your own blood brother. A lot of people don't want to listen. But look at what they were saying then. Kéèyàn kankan máa sọ pé torí ẹ̀sìn la ṣe mú, kò ní nǹkan kan ṣe pẹ̀lú nǹkan tó ṣe kinní kan ìgbà wo. Which àwọn èèyàn wa ń rò pé wọ́n kàn sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni torí ẹ̀ náà ṣe mú. Wọ́n fẹ́ kó jìyà Kùránì tó sùn. But look at what they are saying today. Look at what they are saying today. Wọ́n ní torí pé wọ́n múra, wọ́n ń bọ̀ wá ṣe ọdún ìṣẹ̀ṣe ní ibẹ̀ yẹn ló jẹ́ káwọn sáré lọ gbé. Wá compare sí nǹkan tán sọ torí pé wọ́n parọ́, wọ́n dẹ̀ deceive a lot of you guys just to get you on their side so that you can join them to fight your own brother. And a lot of you join them to fight your brother then. But they are turning around today telling you pé you've been a fool. Àgbé ẹni múgùn, àgbé yín ní gbogbo yín follow wa. Àtàn yín ni pé kì í ṣe torí ẹ̀ o. A sì mọ̀ pé ẹ rò pé bóyá torí nǹkan, àmọ́ torí gbogbo nǹkan tẹ́tí ẹ ń rò yẹn kọ́ làwa ṣe gbé. Àwa ò fẹ́ kó wá síbí kán wá ṣe nǹkan tán wá ṣe ni. A fẹ́ kó wá bí kán wá ṣe nǹkan tán náà fẹ́ ṣe yẹn ni. Which àwa kan ń pariwo, à ń sọ ńgbà yẹn. Wọ́n ní ká gbẹ́nu wa sọ́hùn ká dákẹ́. And we were shouting, but no, ẹ má rò pé ń ṣe kinní fún yín torí ẹ̀sìn. And see, it's always going to be like that. They are always going to deceive you to go against your own brother. Ìwọ ni kó wá rorí ẹ pé tó bá parapọ̀ mọ́ àwọn àjèjì tó darapọ̀ márààta, tó tara lé ẹ lọ́pọ̀ ṣé wàá padà rí wọn rà lọ́wọ́n tó bá dọjọ́ iwájú. Ẹ̀yin bàbá wa ẹ ti ń tà wá lọ́pọ̀ báyìí o, kẹwọn pé ẹni rí wa rà lọ́wọ́n ọjọ́ iwájú o, à ń bẹ̀ yín ni o, à ń bẹ̀bẹ̀ ni. Àwọn eléyìí tó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ bá wa wọ́gbọ́n bẹ ṣe máa yí padà ẹ máa paná ẹ̀. A dẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ yín ẹ dákun ẹ má jẹ́ kí míì ṣẹlẹ̀, ẹ má jẹ́ kí míì ṣẹlẹ̀. Ọjọ́ ti lọ ni ó ní tọ̀kan tó wá sọ́kàn mi tí mi bá sọ fún wa pé tóun tẹ́ fẹ́ káwa náà ṣe nìyẹn ni, tó bá jẹ́ yẹn ni a lè ṣe é. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ dákun ẹ má jẹ́ kọ́rọ̀ wa rí bẹ́ẹ̀, ẹ má jẹ́ kọ́rọ̀ wa rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ̀yin èèyàn ibí ni màá máa fi àdàgbà ẹ̀rọ̀ sí láṣálẹ́ yìí. Ẹ má dẹ̀ bínú pé ó pẹ́ mi. Normally tẹ́ bá wò mi ò kí ń ṣètò ọjọ́ Wednesday tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, but because torí pé mo kàn sáré ní time lénìí náà ni, mo sáré ní time kékeré lénìí náà ni mo ní kí n ṣe, because tá bá tún ti jí lọ́la ń sìn tá bá ti lọ I don't know when I will be back. Ìgbà tí n bá tún dé ni mo dé. So gbogbo ìgbà tí n bá ti ní time no matter how little lágbára Ọlọ́run láṣẹ Èdùmàrè a máa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa nǹkan kan. Mo dẹ̀ ṣì ń bọ̀ o, ọ̀rọ̀ kan sì wà the intelligence is there but kò tíì tó time tá a máa bẹ́ síta. Mo ń tẹnumọ́ mo ń sọ fún yín kí a máa gba Yorùbá nation, yes a máa gbà á, but if we are not careful the wrong people will get it for us and it will be so quick tó máa jọ wá lójú tó máa yà wá lẹ́nu, but end result ẹ ò ní dáa. But the intelligence are there. Ẹ̀yin náà ti ń rí àwọn sign kan, ẹ ti ń rápẹrẹ dẹ̀ ti ń gbọ́ oríṣiríṣi. Ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ farabalẹ̀ tó bá mọ béèyàn ṣe ń fòye gbé nǹkan àti béèyàn ṣe ń fi nǹkan sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ara wọn yóò ti yé yín, ẹ̀yin náà ó ti rí clearly. But when the time is right a máa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀. Ẹ ṣé bàbá mi thank you. Mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo yín oníyanṣe ọlọ́bẹ̀ ṣe, mo mórè o, mo dẹ̀ mọyì gbogbo yín ẹ pé gbogbo ìgbà láì ṣe pé mo ti sọ fún yín tẹ́lẹ̀, láì ṣe pé mọ̀ pé mò ń ṣètò ọjọ́ Wednesday mo kàn déédéé jáde ẹ wá ẹ tẹ́tí sí mi ẹ gbọ́ mi. Elédùmarè adílé àti ọ̀nà gbogbo yín mú, Elédùmarè á wà pẹ̀lú gbogbo yín náà. Gbogbo ìgbà tẹ́yin náà tẹ́ bá ti gbé nǹkan lẹ̀, gbogbo ọjà tẹ́ bá ti gbé lẹ̀, gbogbo tẹ́ bá pàtẹ lẹ̀, agbára Ọlọ́run láṣẹ Èdùmàrè ẹ rí èèyàn bá yín náà. Kò ní ṣe ẹ̀yin nìkan, ẹ ní dá nìkan sáyé yín. Elédùmarè á dẹ̀ máa ṣe kí ni, a máa pa àlọ àti àbọ̀ yín mọ́. Gbogbo ohunkóhun tí oníkálukú yín ń ṣe tó jẹ́ ọ̀nà ìjẹ yín, tó jẹ́ ọ̀nà tẹ́ ń gbà jẹ tẹ́ ń gbà mu, ẹ ní kábàámọ̀ ńbẹ̀. Ọ̀dá owó ò ní dá yín o, agbára Ọlọ́run láṣẹ Èdùmàrè. Ẹ ní táwọ́ ná, ẹ ní tàràkà, ẹ ní wọwọ́ lọ́wọ́ kẹ́ tó jẹun, ẹ sì ní tọrọ jẹ. Ẹ ní wàkísà kẹ́yìn aṣọ láyé yín, wọn ò ní fẹ́ gbà fún yín lóúnjẹ tọmọtọmọ. Àtèmi tí mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ náà, ọmọ yín tọwọ́ oníkọlà kú, ọmọ ò ní kú mọ́ yín lọ́wọ́ láṣẹ Èdùmàrè. Àtèmi tí mò ń ṣàdúrà yìí náà kó rí fún mi gẹ́gẹ́ bí èrò mi sí gbogbo yín. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, èmi ọmọ yín àbúrò yín ni, ọmọ wọn lódò ọwá, èmi lọmọ onígbó mọ́yà mọ́yà so, ọmọ onígbó mọ́yà mọ́yà tọ̀, abara mi ní jọ̀jọ̀ bí ewé ìgbá. Èmi lọmọ akákìtì lórí ìrókò, ọmọ afẹnugbégbá ẹbọ. Lágbára Ọlọ́run láṣẹ Èdùmàrè á pàdé láyọ̀ àtàlàáfíà. Gbogbo ìgbà tó bá wá jẹ́ pẹ̀láyọ̀ la máa pàdé. Títí dìgbà yẹn ó dàárọ̀, ẹ ṣeun.